Chapter 2359. Killing Ancestor Louis soon as LV Haotian and Palace Master Jing Yun entered the private room. They set up layers of restrictions around it. Without their permission, no one from the outside could enter the private room, let alone spy on what was happening inside. Of course, Palace Master Jing Yun also set up an anti-blocking restriction just in case. She also wanted to prevent LV Haotian from cheating and transmitting information to the outside world. Although LV Haotian was a little unhappy with the anti-blocking restriction set up by Palace Master Jing Yun, he did not say anything. The space-time key was indeed more important. After all, it was related to the space-time temple. It was said that the space-time master was a Tao affirmation expert. If they could find the space-time temple, it would be very useful to them. Just as LV Haotian and Palace Master Jing Yun were secretly discussing the whereabouts of the space-time key and reached an agreement on this matter, the female disciples of Six Desires Palace had already gone upstairs one after another. However, Yao Xiangjuan did not follow the other female disciples. Instead, she came before Ancestor Lu with her beautiful eyes filled with anger. Ancestor Lu smiled at the beautiful woman in front of him. Just as he was about to speak, a jade-like hand suddenly swept over, and a deep red palm print appeared on his face. The crisp sound of a slap rang out continuously in the restaurant. Everyone in the restaurant trembled when they heard it. Ancestor Lu was LV Haotian's son, and the next successor of His Highness God Lu. He was actually slapped in the face in public. This was a great loss of face. Ancestor Lu was stunned at first, then his face turned red with anger. He stared at the beautiful woman in front of him, but in the end, he did not make a move. "Miss Yao, what's the use of being angry? Shuo Wen will not be able to escape. You will be powerless to do anything about what will happen next." Ancestor Lu's eyes revealed a trace of scarlet. Yao Xiangjuan's attitude towards Shuo Wen had made Ancestor Lu extremely angry. Moreover, what made him even more angry was that Shuo Wen had stolen his limelight everywhere in the training space. Therefore, the jealous Ancestor Lu immediately told LV Haotian everything that had happened in the space-time river of quicksand after returning to Shrine Lu. Lu Haotian was pleasantly surprised that his son had finally returned. He was also shocked by the news that his son had brought back. He never expected that there would be a space-time divine key hidden in the river of space-time quicksand. Furthermore, the space-time divine key had been obtained by an itinerant cultivator. If a high-level disciple of Six Desires Palace like Yao Xiangjuan obtained it, LV Haotian would still be wary. However, if it was just a rogue cultivator, he really had no scruples. Of course, the influence of Lushan Temple was limited, and the Six Desires' heavenly domain was vast. If the rogue cultivator escaped, it would be difficult for Lu Haotian to find him. Moreover, according to Patriarch Lu's suggestion, that itinerant cultivator had a good relationship with Yao Xiangjuan. This time, they had met the people from Six Desires Palace in the Pill Furnace Star Zone. Lu Hao's plan was to cooperate with Palatial Master Jing Yun. It would be best if he could get some information about the rogue cultivator from Yao Xiangjuan. That way, he wouldn't have to search for a needle in a haystack. As long as they had the clues, Lu Shan Hall and Six Desires Palace would be able to find the rogue cultivator. Yao Xiangjuan was so angry that she was trembling, but her heart was extremely flustered. She knew very well that Zhuowen was in the Pill Furnace Star Zone and was about to enter the divine Pill Secret Realm. If Zhuowen was recognized by Patriarch Lu, it would really be difficult for him to escape. Patriarch Lu looked at Yao Xiangjuan indifferently, especially when he saw the latter's shocked and angry expression. His heart was full of pleasure, but of course, there was also jealousy in this pleasure. The more Yao Xiangjuan cared about the rogue cultivator, the more jealous he was. He's called Juoen. Brother Joa, there seems to be someone with the same name as you. From this guy's tone, it seems that the person with the same name as you is going to be in trouble. In the corner, Ma Yujia smiled slightly and immediately turned to look at Juoen. When he found that Juoen's face was not looking good, Ma Yujia showed a surprised look and said, Brother Joa, is this guy talking about you? How did you provoke the young master of Lushan Temple? Lushan Temple is not to be trifled with. The corners of Joa, Wen's mouth curled into a sneer as he looked coldly at Ancestor Lu, who was not far away. Speaking of which, he was the one who saved Patriarch Lu. If it were not for him, Juoen, Patriarch Lu would have died in the Thunderwing Taotia's lair. However, Patriarch Lu obviously did not care about Juoen's kindness at all. Instead, he bit the hand that fed him. Brother Ma, if I kill Patriarch Lu, do you think I can escape? Juoen suddenly looked at Ma Yujia and asked. Ma Yujia smiled and said, Palace Master Jingyun and Lu Haoqian are now in the box and have set up an anti-shielding restriction. You have plenty of time to kill Patriarch Lu. Juoen nodded and slowly stood up. He did not doubt Ma Yujia's words because this guy was a level 9 Divine Array Master. Basically, the restriction present could not escape Ma Yujia's prying eyes. Moreover, even if Ma Yujia lied to him, Juoen could drag him down with him. When the time came, he could just say that this guy also had the space-time key. Junior sister, Yao, that Juoen is merely a loose cultivator without any background. However, he obtained something that he should not have. If junior sister Yao is able to reveal some information about that shameless loose cultivator, Patriarch Lu's eyes were full of pride. He glanced sideways at Yao Xiangjuan, who was trembling with anger, and felt even more pleased. Just as he was about to continue, a gust of wind suddenly swept over. Patriarch Lu's expression changed slightly as an ominous premonition swept through his heart. By the time he reacted, a palm had already appeared in front of him and ruthlessly slapped him several times in front of his eyes. Every slap was as loud as thunder, and Patriarch Lu's cheeks were swollen. His whole body was like a spinning top, spinning rapidly in the air, and then heavily smashing into the ground, creating a huge deep pit. Patriarch Lu roared angrily. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his body, and anger filled his heart. However, before he could get up, a swift and fierce kick swept over and landed heavily on Ancestor Lu's chest. Uffed. Patriarch Lu was kicked away like a piece of trash in front of everyone's eyes. He fell directly outside the restaurant. The moment Patriarch Lu flew out, a huge phagocytosis fell from the sky and heavily smashed into his body. The power of phagocytosis was different from before. Its power was too terrifying, especially after fusing with the Dao fruit. Patriarch Lu only had time to scream before he was drowned by the phagocytosis. Then, without any signs of life, he was directly smashed into meat paste by the phagocytosis. The power of the Taoist rhyme on the surface of the phagocytosis annihilated Patriarch Lu's body and soul. Chapter 2360. Provoking Lu Shrine. In just an instant, everyone in the restaurant fell into a daze. Everyone stared blankly at the scene of Ancestor Lu's death. No one expected that the dignified young lord of the Lu Divine Temple would be killed in an instant under the eyes of the people of the Lu Divine Temple. Moreover, the temple master of the Lu Divine Temple, Lu Haoqian, was also present in this restaurant. Swish, swish, swish. The instant Ancestor Lu was killed, everyone's gaze gathered on the white-robed youth in front of them. It was this white-robed youth who had suddenly exploded and killed Ancestor Lu. Yao Xiangjuan's beautiful eyes also turned slightly as her attention fell on the white-robed youth. When she saw the white-robed youth's true appearance, her cherry lips parted slightly, revealing a pleasantly surprised expression. Zhuowen, Yao Xiangjuan muttered in a low voice. You dare to kill young master? Kill him. At this moment, the Lu Shrine's members also recovered from the shock of Ancestor Lu's death. An old man roared with his hair and beard fluttering in the wind. He took a step forward and attacked Zhuowen. More than a dozen people from Lu Shrine followed behind the old man and glared at Zhuowen. If looks could kill, their gazes would have killed Zhuowen 1,000 times over. Zhuowen's gaze turned solemn. The old man leading the group was very strong. He was a half-step void Sky Ninth step expert. Apart from him, there were also 2 experts at the 8th step void Sky 8th step. The rest were all below the 8th step void Sky 8th step. With a wave of his sleeve, Zhuowen summoned the Tsanglan secret domain and summoned 3 people from the Tsanglan secret domain. These 3 people were the 3 slaves Zhuowen had previously taken in Chen Changsheng, Di Ling, and Zhang Jiqing. The 3 of them were all at the 8th step void Sky 8th step, and the one with the highest cultivation was Chen Changsheng. He was originally in existence on the same level as the Cosmos Sex ancestor, and his cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th step void Sky 8th step. During this period of time, he had basically stayed in the Tsanglan secret realm to cultivate. He had also made some progress, and was already on his way to the half-step illusory Sky 9th step. Moreover, in order to help the 3 of them improve their cultivation faster, Zhuowen even took out a portion of the heavenly Tao blood for them to comprehend. He had indeed achieved great results. Although Chen Changsheng had yet to reach the 9th step of the half-step void Sky realm, his strength was much stronger than before. Although he still wasn't a match for a half-step void Sky realm expert, at least he wasn't completely defenseless. King Spirit and Zhang Jiqing's improvements were obvious, too. King Spirit had reached the later stages of Virtual Sky 8 levels, and Zhang Jiqing had reached the middle stages of Virtual Sky 8 levels. Chen Changsheng, stop that old man. As soon as the 3 servants appeared, Zhuowen immediately gave them orders. Zhuowen even pointed at the half-step void Sky 9th Ascension old man and said to Chen Changsheng. When Chen Changsheng saw the old man, his face immediately turned green. This was a half-step void Sky 9th step expert. How could he be a match for such an expert? Don't worry, you just need to delay this old man for a while. Once I've dealt with the others, I'll naturally come and help you. Zhuowen transmitted his voice to Chen Changsheng. Hearing this, Chen Changsheng calmed down a little. Ever since he knew that Zhuowen had created a space-time divine ability and almost killed Kuang, Li from the Quicksand family, he revered his master even more. Boom! At this moment, the old man had already arrived in front of Zhuowen. He roared and suddenly sent a palm strike towards Zhuowen's face. Although Chen Changsheng was scared witless, he didn't dare to disobey Zhuowen's orders. He raised his hand and sent a palm strike towards the old man. Boom! The 2 palms collided, and a terrifying chi exploded. Zhuowen immediately took out a beast bone formation plate and set up a sturdy barrier around them so that the aftermath of the battle wouldn't spread too far. Chen Changsheng groaned, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He gloomily looked at the old man in front of him, who was only swaying. He knew that there was still a gap between him and a half-step void Sky 9th step expert. A mere peak void Sky 8th step expert can actually resist my attack. Not bad, but let's see how many times you can resist. The old man revealed an astonished expression. His right foot stepped on the air, and like a burst of green smoke, he continued to rush over. The wind from his palm was like a hurricane, blasting towards Chen Changsheng again. Chen Changsheng had no choice but to continue dealing with the old man. In his heart, He hoped that Zhuowen would quickly come and help him. In the instant that Qin Chang Shang restrained the old man, Zhuowen took the king's spirit and Zhang Ziqing and rushed towards the rest of the people from Shrine Lu. Originally, he planned to directly leave after killing Ancestor Lu. However, since Ma Yujie said that Palace Master Jing Yun and Lu Haoyan's box had an anti-blocking restriction, he wasn't worried that Lu Haoyan would hear the commotion here. In addition, Shrine Lu had already targeted him. Naturally, he couldn't sit still and wait for death. He had to first eliminate the people brought by Shrine Lu. The two Peak Void Sky 8-step cultivators from Shrine Lu were a black-clothed youth and a white-clothed man. The two of them, one on the left and one on the right, led a group of people from Shrine Lu to attack Zhuowen. In particular, when the two men saw Zhuowen rushing towards them, they sneered with disdain. Zhuowen's cultivation was too low. He was only at Void Sky 7-step. Although Di Ling and Zhang Ziqing's cultivation was good, the gap between them and the two men wasn't small. In their eyes, this battle was simply one-sided. However, the two of them hated the fact that this bastard had actually killed their young lord. If this matter was known by their shrine master, they were afraid that they would be severely punished. Therefore, this time, they had to capture this murderer. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain to Lu Haoyan. Leave these two to me. You two go deal with the others first. Zhuowen ordered Zhang Ziqing, and Di Ling then rushed towards the black-clothed and white-clothed men alone. Originally, the two men thought that Zhuowen would join forces with the other two to deal with them, but now that the white-clothed youth not only didn't do so, but also planned to rush towards them alone, the two men's eyes suddenly revealed a strange expression. Is this child crazy? He's rushing to die? The black-clothed man whispered in confusion. Since this child is courting death, we'll help him. Hee. The white-clothed man licked his lips, and a cruel look appeared in his eyes. He overtook the black-clothed man first and rushed towards Zhuowen, his fist wrapped in the power of a landslide, fiercely smashing towards him. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. Looking at the impatient white-clothed man, the corner of his mouth revealed a mocking smile. The moment the white-clothed man's fist came, Zhuowen's whole body slowly disappeared in front of him. Heaven splitting, earth splitting. Chapter 2361. Cold-blooded slaughter. What's going on? Spatial laws? The white-robed man reacted quickly. He suddenly released a terrifying divine power, but he soon realized that the moment he released his divine power, it was as if time had reversed. He returned to the initial state of releasing his divine power. It's not just the law of space. There's also the law of time. No, this is the power of the law of space-time. How could a mere Void Sky 7th-step cultivator grasp the power of space-time laws? The white-robed man's eyes revealed a trace of fear. Generally speaking, the space-time law was a power that could only be grasped by cultivators above the Void Sky 8 steps. Even though he was at the peak of the 8 steps Void Sky, he only knew a little about the space-time law. However, this cultivator, who was much weaker than him, was able to grasp the space-time law so skillfully. This was too strange. Bang, bang, bang. Genesis Splitter was the last move in the Destruction Dao sword art. It was also the strongest move. Combined with the power of space-time law, the power of this move was much stronger than before. Terrifying space-time precepts continued to erupt from the white-clothed man's body. Then, the white-clothed man continued to scream as a bloody mist exploded from his body like fireworks. The white-robed man wanted to escape from the collapsed space-time, but every time he tried to flee, time and space would reset him to his original position, making his escape futile. He could only passively endure the terrifying power of the space-time precepts. It kept erupting in his body and wearing away at his life force. Save me, the white-robed man was finally terrified. He wailed at the black-robed man, who had stopped halfway. But soon, his sorrowful cries came to an abrupt end. He was completely annihilated in the space-time law region. The black-clothed man witnessed this scene with his own eyes. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. His hands and feet turned cold. He had never imagined that a mere Void Sky 7-step cultivator could be so powerful and even control the power of the space-time law. By the looks of it, the degree of mastery that this lad had over the space-time laws should have already reached the state of greater mastery. This was definitely not someone that they could afford to offend. Go. We have to inform the palace master first. The black-clothed man stepped on the air with his right foot and rushed up the restaurant. Unfortunately, he was quickly blocked by the beast bone array disc. This barrier was very sturdy. It would take at least 15 minutes to break it with brute force. But this 15 minutes was too long. With Zhuowen's speed, he could catch up in an instant. Die! Zhuowen's cold voice sounded as if the Grim Reaper was whispering into the black-clothed man's ear. The black-robed man suddenly turned around, holding a long spear in his hand. He suddenly stabbed out, and a burst of spear intent was like a snowstorm violently rushing out. The black-robed man's spear was extremely powerful. It was enough to kill any cultivator below the peak of the Void Sky 8 steps. Unfortunately, his opponent was Zhuowen, a cultivator who had mastered the power of space-time rules. The space-time law was a power above the starry sky law. The black-robed man's cultivation level was indeed higher than Zhuowen's, but he had only grasped the power of the starry sky law. The gap between the two of them had been narrowed imperceptibly by the space-time rules. Zhuowen's strength had even surpassed the man in black. Looking at the terrifying spear, Zhuowen faintly smiled. He held the sword in his right hand and suddenly raised it up. Suddenly, sword intent blasted out, and the surrounding space-time distorted. The terrifying spear seemed to have been reset to its original point. All the spear's shadows disappeared, and even the long spear stopped in place. It was only a momentary pause, but Zhuowen slashed out with the king's sword in his hand once again. With one slash, sword chi swept out, transforming into a terrifying sword dragon that instantly swallowed the black-robed man. The sword dragon roared, and not long after it swallowed the black-robed man, it collapsed with a loud bang. The black-robed man, who was swallowed, completely disappeared along with the sword dragon. After Zhuowen cleanly dealt with the two cultivators, Zhang Ziqing and Di Ling's side was almost finished. At this point, except for the half-step void, Sky 9 steps old man, Zhuowen's group had basically killed all the people of Lu Shrine. Everyone in the restaurant fell into a daze. As early as Zhuowen's group started fighting, the cultivators in the restaurant had already hidden in a remote corner to watch the battle with great interest. They originally thought that this would be a very intense battle, but they didn't expect that the people of Lu Shrine would be so easily dealt with. At this moment, everyone's gaze towards the white-robed youth no longer held any contempt or disdain. They all knew that this youth, who only had a cultivation of Void Sky 7 steps on the surface, was actually extremely powerful. Otherwise, how could this child so easily kill two powerhouses at the peak of Void Sky 8 steps? Bang! Suddenly, a muffled groan sounded, and then a miserable voice descended from the sky, landing not far from Zhuowen's side. Zhuowen looked over and found that this miserable figure was none other than Chen Changxing. "Master, I'm not that person's opponent," Chen Changxing said rather shamefully. Zhuowen shook his head and patted Chen Changxing's shoulder, then raised his head to look at the angry old man. "Goddamn brat, you actually killed the people of Lu Shrine. You deserve to die." The old man saw the dozen or so corpses in the restaurant including the black and white men, and his lungs were about to explode from anger. These were all elites of Lu Shrine, especially the black and white men. They were protectors of Lu Shrine, and their cultivations were at the peak of Void Sky 8 steps. They were important figures of Lu Shrine, but they were killed just like that. This was a great loss to Lu Shrine. I even killed your young master. What's so surprising about killing a few of them? Zhuowen sneered and looked at the old man provocatively. The old man was immediately enraged by Zhuowen's words. He shouted loudly and suddenly charged towards Zhuowen. A terrifying aura swept out, causing the surrounding barrier to shake violently. From this, it could be seen how powerful this old man was. Seeing the old man flip out, many cultivators in the restaurant retreated once again. This was a cultivator who had reached the 9th step of the virtual sky realm. If the barrier set up by Zhuo was broken, then they would definitely bear the brunt of it. At that time, if they died in the aftermath of the battle, then it would be too sullen of a death. Yao Xiangjuan's beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She stared blankly at the white-clothed figure facing the old man alone. Master, let's face the enemy together. Chen Changsheng struggled to stand up and said with a serious expression. Zhuowen smiled and waved his sleeve, summoning the Canglan's secret realm, and said, "The three of you return to the Canglan's secret realm first. Leave this old man to me." Chen Changsheng and the other two looked at each other. Although they were worried when they thought of the battle between Zhuowen and Quang Li, the three of them felt relieved and entered the Canglan's secret realm one after another. Does this child actually plan to face a half-step Void Sky 9th step expert alone? This child is a bit arrogant. Since he has helpers, he should join forces. There's no chance of winning at all if he fights alone. In my opinion, this child is too arrogant. Let's see how this child deals with a half-step Void Sky 9th step cultivator. Chapter 2362. Annihilate half-step Void Sky 9th step. In a remote corner of the restaurant, Ma Yujia picked up his wine cup and drained it in one gulp. His gaze fell on Zhuowen with great interest. When Zhuowen decided to face the half-step Void Sky 9th step old man alone, Ma Yujia was also a little surprised. Although Zhuowen had grasped the power of space-time law, the gap between him and a half-step Void Sky 9th step was much greater than a half-step Void Sky 8th step peak. Ma Yujia wasn't surprised that Zhuowen could instantly kill two half-step Void Sky 8th step powerhouses. After all, Ma Yujia had experienced Zhuowen's strength before. However, it wouldn't be easy to kill this half-step Void Sky 9th step old man in front of him. He might even have to pay a price. Ma Yujia didn't say anything. He sat in the corner of the restaurant and silently watched the battle that was about to happen. You will pay for what you've done. The old man floated in the air. He suddenly clenched his hands, and two long black sabers appeared in his hands. Powerful divine power circulated on the surface of each saber. Obviously, they weren't ordinary divine tools. Boom! The old man held the sabers in his hands. Suddenly, two saber lights blasted out and slammed into the barrier. Kacha! Countless cracks appeared on the barrier formed by the beast bone array disk. It was on the verge of collapse. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. His array Tao level was still somewhat lacking. This barrier could block an 8th step Void Sky 8th step cultivator, but it couldn't block an attack from a stronger cultivator. Zhuowen felt a little helpless in his heart. He transmitted his voice to Ma Yujia in the corner. "Brother Ma, help me set up a new barrier to trap this old man. I'll give you 50 time and space crystals each." Ma Yujia, who was sitting in the corner, played with the wine cup in his hand. He chuckled and said, 100 time and space crystals each. Otherwise, there's no need to talk. Zhuowen sneered and said, "In that case, forget it. I don't have to kill this old man. If I want to escape, this old man might not be able to catch up to me." Ma Yujie frowned slightly. He knew very well that Zhuowen's main purpose in arranging the barrier was to prevent the people from Lushan Temple from calling Lu Haotian, and the people from the Desire Palace were under the control of Yao Xiangjuan at this moment. They certainly wouldn't call Palace Master Jingyun at this juncture. If this old man were to break the barrier now, the first thing he would do would not be to kill Zhuowen, but to call for Lu Haotian. Zhuowen was not afraid of a half-step void Sky Ninth Stage expert. However, if 2 life comprehension realm experts were added to the mix, Zhuowen knew that he would definitely have to flee and not fight. Deal. Ma Yujie hurriedly transmitted his voice. Then, he jumped up from the corner of the hotel. With a wave of his sleeve, he threw out dozens of array discs. Ma Yujie's hands quickly formed a seal. Then, the dozens of array discs emitted a blazing white light that scattered in all directions. Outside Zhua, Wen's enchantment, another layer of enchantment was set up that was even stronger. Kacha! Zhuowen's barrier finally shattered under the old man's attack, and the old man had already swept to the edge of the barrier. When he saw Ma Yujie, the fatty, suddenly take action and set up another barrier, his eyes cracked and his anger overflowed. "Damn it, you're courting death." The angry old man raised his black long saber with both hands and smashed it on the newly set barrier. Boom! Suddenly, sparks flew between the long saber and the barrier, and the old man's pupils shrank. He only felt that the 2 sabers had hit the hardest rock and were directly bounced back. The moment the old man retreated, a sword light instantly swept over and went straight for his neck. The old man quickly adjusted the boiling blood in his body and swung his hands back, heavily colliding with Zhuowen's king's sword. The sound of gold and iron clashing was particularly harsh. Then Zhuowen retreated dozens of steps, while the old man retreated more than 10 steps. The old man took a deep breath and looked at Zhuowen in shock. He didn't expect this guy to be able to force him to retreat in a head-on collision. At the same time, what shocked the old man even more was that the barrier set up by the fatty was actually so sturdy. His attack had no effect on the barrier at all. Instead, he was forced back by the rebounding force of the barrier. Just as the old man was lost in thought, the sound of breaking air rang out again. He knew that the young man in white had rushed over again. "I'll kill you first, and then inform the temple master." The old man snorted coldly, holding the saber with both hands. He also rushed out and instantly engaged in a fierce battle with Zhuowen. Boom, boom, boom. Saber light and sword shadows constantly flashed inside the barrier, which looked dazzling. The terrifying aftermath of the battle swept out like a hurricane, exploding in all directions. The battle between the 2 became more and more intense and terrifying. Just from the aftermath of the battle at the edge of the barrier, everyone could feel how terrifying and intense the battle was. Ma Yujie looked at the white-clothed young man, who was evenly matched with the old man, and muttered in a low voice, "This kid isn't simple. He's actually so strong that he can fight with a half-step, 9th-step virtual sky expert to this extent. However, this kid is at a disadvantage. He should be defeated after 100 moves." Ma Yujie's eyes were indeed sharp. After Zhuowen and the old man exchanged 100 moves, the old man roared and attacked with both sabers, which contained a trace of Dao rhythm. Zhuowen was caught off guard and was smashed to the ground by this attack. He was in a sorry state. Fortunately, after soaking in the true dragon's blood, Zhuowen's physical body wasn't weaker than Devour's. Moreover, he wasn't unfamiliar with the heavenly Dao rhythm. Therefore, he didn't feel much when he was hit by the old man's saber. He only suffered a flesh wound. However, The old man didn't think so. Although Zhuo Wen had only suffered superficial wounds, his external injuries looked like they were badly mutilated, giving people the impression that he had been seriously injured. The old man laughed complacently and said, "You're overestimating yourself. Today, I'll let you die a quick death." After saying that, the old man kicked his right knee and fell from the sky, falling towards Zhuo Wen. The Tao rhythm of the long saber in his hand circulated and emitted a terrifying aura. Anyone could see that this saber was aimed at taking Zhuo Wen's life. Zhuo Wen slowly stood up. He looked at the old man, who was falling, and took a deep breath. His right hand pointed at the void, and the power of the space-time law poured out like a vast ocean. Immediately after, Zhuo Wen's surroundings completely turned into an endless sea. Many cultivators around the restaurant were confused as they looked at the vast ocean that suddenly appeared around them. This ocean didn't look like an illusion. Instead, it looked real. Chapter 2363. Angry LV Haotian, the old man suddenly unleashed an unprecedented amount of divine power, but it only allowed him to move slowly. A sense of helplessness rose from the bottom of his heart. The old man felt a deep sense of fear. A waning sun slowly rose from the sea behind Zhuo Wen. As the sun slowly rose, the elder could not even move. Following this, waves of terrifying power exploded out from the elder's body. And as the sun rose higher and higher, this burst of power became more frequent. Boom, boom. Everyone could only see the old man constantly howling as a bloody mist erupted from his body. The blood mist grew thicker and thicker, instantly engulfing the old man's figure. In the end, not even his shadow could be seen. When the sun rose to its highest point, the old man was completely annihilated into nothingness and died. When the sun and the sea completely disappeared, the countless cultivators in the restaurant fell into shock and didn't speak for a long time. Ma Yujie looked at Zhuo Wen solemnly and thought to himself, this guy actually created his own space-time god art. Is this guy a freak? No, I have to go to the river of space-time quicksand as well. After this trip to the Divine Pill's secret land, I have to go there once. Ma Yujie regained his senses. Other than shock, there was also regret in his heart. He knew that Zhuo Wen must have comprehended this divine ability from the river of space-time quicksand. He was very confident in his perception. Since this Zhuo Wen could comprehend his own space-time sacred art, then he would be able to do the same after entering the space-time quicksand river. What he regretted was that he hadn't been able to enter the river of space-time quicksand and missed the opportunity to comprehend space-time divine abilities. However, it wasn't too late now. After he finished exploring the Divine Pill's secret realm, he could go to the space-time river of quicksand. Zhuo Wen immediately swallowed the heavenly domain starry sky essence the moment he cast the waning sun on the sea. Then he winked at Ma Yujie. The latter nodded. After removing the barrier, the two of them quickly left the restaurant. Yao Xiangjuan originally wanted to call out to Zhuo Wen, but she remembered that Zhuo Wen from Lushan Hall had killed people from Lushan Hall and that her martial uncle would most likely join in the hunt for Zhuo Wen. In the end, she didn't stop Zhuo Wen. After Zhuo Wen and Ma Yujie dashed out into the distance and vanished, the numerous cultivators in the restaurant were in an uproar as they discussed animatedly. Of course, the most discussed thing was why didn't LV Haotian and Palace Master Jingyun come out when the battle was so fierce? Shrine, Lu must have sent a message to LV Haotian, but LV Haotian still didn't appear, which made everyone's imaginations. Creak. At this moment, the door's room of peoples. Everyone was familiar with these two figures. Weren't they Lu Haotian of Shrine Lu and Palace Master Jing Yun of Desire Palace? The two of them were chatting cheerfully. appearing to be leisurely and contented. This caused the crowd to reveal strange expressions. Ha! Palace Master Jingyun, happy cooperation. LV Haotian couldn't help but laugh. Palace Master Jing Yun smiled and nodded. Obviously, the two of them were having a good chat in the room. However, when LV Haotian and Palace Master Jing Yun walked downstairs, they soon found that something was wrong. They found that the surrounding cultivators were looking at them strangely. What's going on? LV Haotian was about to speak, but his words soon stagnated because he had already seen the dozens of corpses lying on the ground in the restaurant. Especially when he saw Ancestor Lu's corpse, he felt as if he was struck by lightning and couldn't help but take a step back. But soon, LV Haotian quickly stepped forward and came to Ancestor Lu's corpse. He squatted down and began to repeatedly probe Ancestor Lu's aura with his divine sense. He found that Ancestor Lu had completely lost all signs of life. LV Haotian was silent for a moment. He immediately stood up, looked at Yao Xiangjuan and the other disciples of Desire Palace, and hissed, "Who did it?" Yao Xiangjuan frowned slightly and didn't answer. Instead, a disciple of Desire Palace next to her came out and said, "It was a young man in white. He killed Ancestor Lu in a sneak attack, and then killed the rest of the people of Shrine Lu." Palace Master Jing Yun glanced at Ancestor Lu, and her heart was full of surprise. She didn't expect that someone would be so bold as to kill Ancestor Lu, the young master of Shrine Lu. It was too bold. Young man in white. You know that young man in white? LV Haotian's eyes were gloomy. Unfortunately, the disciple of Desire Palace shook her head, indicating that she didn't know the young man in white. "Do you have an image of that person?" LV Haotian asked coldly. The disciples of Desire Palace all shook their heads. They didn't have the habit of recording images. "Palace Master LV, this little one has it." Suddenly, a cultivator in the crowd quickly said. LV Haotian looked at the cultivator and said, "Give me the image, and I won't treat you unfairly." The man grinned and eagerly handed the crystal ball to LV Haotian. LV Haotian took the crystal ball and immediately began to check the image inside. When he found that the young man in white in the image killed Ancestor Lu in an instant and slaughtered the people of Shrine Lu, the killing intent in his eyes burst out like a vast ocean. It was extremely dazzling. "Zhuowen, it's this little bastard who dared to kill my son, and the people of Shrine Lu. He's simply tired of living." LV Haotian's pupils shrank as he stared at the young man in white in the image. When Ancestor Lu told him about the space-time key, he also showed him Zhuowen's face, so he recognized Zhuowen at a glance. Originally, LV Haotian thought that Zhuowen should be fleeing, but he didn't expect that he would come to the Pill Furnace star field and be so bold as to kill Ancestor Lu and many elites of Shrine Lu. He's Zhuowen? He's very strong, and he even created a space-time divine ability. Palace Master Jing Yun's eyes flashed with surprise. LV Haotian didn't block the image in the crystal ball, so Palace Master Jing Yun could clearly see Zhuowen's face. This time, she and LV Haotian were originally discussing the space-time key, which was obtained by Zhuowen. Originally, she didn't pay much attention to Zhuowen after knowing that he was only a 7th-step Void Sky rogue cultivator. But now, after seeing the image, she didn't dare to be careless. A mere 7th-step Void Sky rogue cultivator could easily kill a peak 8th-step Void Sky rogue cultivator, and even kill a half-step 9th-step Void Sky rogue cultivator with his space-time divine ability. Even the most powerful genius of Six Desires Palace couldn't do such a feat. Moreover, she also found that this rogue cultivator was not very old. He definitely cultivated for less than 1,000 years. At such a young age, he actually had the strength of an expert of the older generation. He was definitely a monster. Chapter 2364. Parting Ways, Temple Master Lu, my benefits. After Lu Haotian calmed down, the cultivator who offered the crystal ball looked at Lu Haotian with a flattering smile, looking forward to the benefits promised by the latter. Die! Lu Haotian's eyes turned red. He was already in a fit of anger, and this cultivator just had to provoke him. In a fit of anger, he directly smashed the cultivator into pieces with a palm strike. The poor cultivator's flattering smile didn't even fade before it was completely annihilated into nothingness. The surrounding people kept quiet out of fear, looking at the furious Lu Haotian in horror. They didn't expect Lu Haotian to break his promise, but they didn't dare to come out and criticize him. After all, Lu Haotian was too powerful. They didn't dare to offend such a terrifying existence for unrelated people. Lu Haotian came before Yao Xiangjuan and said, "Miss Yao, I heard from Ancestor Lu that you have a good relationship with Zhuowen. Is Zhuowen your friend?" Yao Xiangjuan raised her head, looked at Lu Haotian indifferently, and said, "I'm sorry, I don't know Zhuowen at all. It's useless to ask me." The veins on Lu Haotian's forehead bulged. He looked coldly at Yao Xiangjuan and growled, "Miss Yao, do you think you can talk to me so presumptuously just because you're a disciple of Six Desires Palace? Let me tell you, you'd better be sensible. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do." Yao Xiangjuan's beautiful eyes narrowed. Lu Haotian actually dared to threaten her in public. Palace Master Jingyun frowned and said coldly, "Temple Master Lu, you're threatening a disciple of Six Desires Palace in front of me. Are you looking down on me?" Lu Haotian looked at Palace Master Jingyun and said coldly, "Palace Master Jingyun, Ancestor Lu wouldn't lie to me. Miss Yao definitely knows Zhuowen. Otherwise, why would she just stand by and watch when Zhuowen was fighting with our people?" Palace Master Jingyun sneered and said, "You mean to say that you want my people to die in Zhuowen's hands?" Lu Haotian's face stiffened. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Zhuowen wasn't a simple person. Even a half-step void sky ninth step expert was killed by him. The people that Palace Master Jingyun brought were not much stronger than the people from Lu Hall. Since Lu Hall's people were completely annihilated by Zhuowen, then Palace Master Jingyun's people would not be able to gain any benefits. Palace Master Jingyun, that's not what I meant. You should know what I mean. LV Haotian said with an ugly expression. Palace Master Jingyun glanced at Lu Haotian indifferently, then looked at Yao Xiangjuan and said with a smile, "Xiangjuan, is what Ancestor Lu said true? Are you friends with Zhuowen?" Yao Xiangjuan's beautiful eyes flickered as she said, "Martial uncle, I've only met Zhuowen once. I don't know him at all. Ancestor Lu must be making things up." Palace Master Jingyun nodded and didn't continue to ask. Although Yao Xiangjuan was a disciple of Six Desires Palace, her status was very special. She was the direct disciple of the Palace Master of Six Desires Palace. The Palace of Desire was the most powerful palace in the Six Desires Palace. It had very few disciples, and the Palace Lord of the Palace of Desire was very protective. Therefore, Jingyun did not dare to force Yao Xiangjuan too much. After all, this would make Yao Xiangjuan unhappy. At that time, if Yao Xiangjuan went back and gossiped with the Palace Master of Six Desires Palace, it would be troublesome for her. "Palace Master Lu, that's it. I will help you keep an eye out for Zhuowen. You should also keep an eye out for him. If you find any clues, you can inform me at any time. I will help you investigate." Palace Master Jingyun said indifferently. Lu Haotian's face was gloomy. He knew that Jingyun didn't intend to continue to ask Yao Xiangjuan. This made him very unhappy. This time, his shrine Lu had suffered a great loss. Moreover, he had lost his own son. Since Jingyun couldn't even interrogate his disciple, Lu Haotian's heart was clouded. In that case, this Lu will take his leave. Since this kid came to the Pill Furnace city of the Pill Furnace Star Field, I'm afraid he came for the divine Pill's secret realm. After Lu Haotian finished speaking, he left the restaurant. The people of Shrine, Lu being killed in the restaurant, was a great humiliation to him. He couldn't stand the feeling of being pointed at behind his back. After Lu Haotian left, the people in the restaurant also gradually dispersed. Palace Master Jing Yun turned to look at Yao Xiangjuan and said, "Xiangjuan, now that there are no outsiders here, tell me the truth. You know Zhuowen? Is the space-time divine key with him?" Yao Xiangjuan's eyes were calm. When Lu Haotian came to find Palace Master Jingyun, she had already guessed what Lu Haotian wanted. Now that Palace Master Jingyun knew about the space-time divine key, she didn't find it strange. Martial Ant, there is indeed a space-time divine key in the space-time quicksand river, and I was trapped there because of the space-time divine key's trial. Only those who pass the trial can obtain the space-time divine key and leave. Yao Xiangjuan suddenly said seriously, "The one who passed the trial is indeed Zhuowen, but because of this, he saved me and Ancestor Lu's life. I don't find it strange that Ancestor Lu is ungrateful, but I am a person who knows how to repay kindness." Martial Ant, if you want to deal with Zhuowen, Xiangjuan will not hesitate to stand by his side. If anything happens to Xiangjuan, I will also suffer. Palace Master Jingyun's beautiful eyes shrank. Yao Xiangjuan was threatening her face to face. If anything were to happen to Yao Xiangjuan while she was with her, the Palace Lord of the EU Palace would not let it go. Seeing Palace Master Jingyun fall silent, Yao Xiangjuan said softly, "Martial Ant Jingyun, you should want to enter the space-time temple, right? But I heard that the space-time temple needs 3 space-time divine keys. 1 space-time divine key is useless. Right now, I just want to remind Martial Uncle that Zhuowen is not an ordinary person. Although he is a rogue cultivator, he was able to jump realms to kill a cultivator who had reached the 9th step of the void domain. He even created his own space-time god art. His strength far surpasses his peers. Martial Ant Jingyun, do you really want to provoke such an existence who may become a supreme expert in the future, just for a key that you don't use? I hope Martial Ant won't be used by Lu Haotian." After Yao Xiangjuan finished speaking, she left the restaurant. Palace Master Jingyun frowned slightly. She looked at Yao Xiangjuan's back and sighed softly. She muttered, "This little girl's words are reasonable. When the time comes, let's see how things go." Whoosh! In a secluded alley, it was dark and damp. 2 figures rushed to the alley like black lightning and finally stopped in the depths of the alley. The 2 figures, one fat and one thin, were sneakily groping around in the alley. "Brother Zhua, I really didn't expect your strength to improve so quickly. It hasn't been long since we separated, but you already have the strength to kill a half-step void sky 9th step cultivator. You're really amazing." Ma Yujia wiggled his fat body in the dark alley and gave a thumbs up to the young man in white behind him. "Brother Ma, here are 50 space-time crystals. Thank you for your help this time. Let's part ways here." Chapter 2365. Pill Tower. Ma Yujia looked at Zhuowen's back as he stroked his chin with his right hand and muttered, "This guy is really anxious. It seems like he's afraid that I'll ask him about his space-time divine ability." After a short pause, Ma Yujia also left the alley and fled in the opposite direction of Zhuowen. After Zhuowen left the alley, he changed his appearance, and even his aura completely changed. After killing Ancestor Lu and so many people from the Lu Shrine, Lu Haotian would definitely fly into a rage. He killed Ancestor Lu and his group in front of so many people. Zhuowen didn't believe that no one recorded it with a crystal ball. As long as Lu Haotian saw the image in the crystal ball, he would be able to quickly guess that it was Zhuowen who did it. Therefore, to be on the safe side, he naturally changed his appearance. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if he was recognized. Zhuowen casually chose an inn. After getting a room, he entered seclusion. There were still 3 days before the Divine Pill's secret domain would open. According to Ma Yujia, 3 days later, he would need to gather at the Pill Tower with his quota jade card. At that time, the Pill Tower's people would use their alchemic fire to open the Divine Pill's secret domain. Zhuowen summoned the black-clothed Zhuowen and looked at him with bright eyes. At this moment, the wind disaster aura on the black-clothed Zhuowen was extremely dense. Even though the black-clothed Zhuowen was trying his best to suppress it, Zhuowen's main body could still feel the wind disaster that was about to erupt from the black-clothed Zhuowen. The black-clothed Zhuowen had already survived 6 wind disasters in the space-time river of quicksand. Now, a lot of time had passed, and the black-clothed Zhuowen had accumulated 2 more wind disasters. If the clone released the wind disaster aura this time, there would be 2 wind disasters stacked together. The wind disasters of the 3 extremes true god were already very terrifying. The 2 wind disasters this time would be even more terrifying. In fact, Zhuowen was worried that the black-clothed Zhuowen's 9th wind disaster was about to arrive. The 3 disasters true god's wind disasters were very regular. The 1st, 9th, 14th, and 19th wind disasters were considered a threshold. Originally, the 7th and 8th wind disasters were suppressed by the black-clothed Zhuowen, but now the 9th wind disaster was about to arrive. Adding the 9th wind disaster, the power of the wind disaster would probably reach an unprecedented level. Zhuowen sighed in his heart. He had always let the black-clothed Zhuowen cultivate freely, but he didn't expect the clone to cultivate so fast. Unknowingly, the clone had already accumulated the 9th wind disaster. Now, Zhuowen was a true god's will. If the 9th wind disaster also appeared, how would he smoothly pass it? I can only take 1 step at a time. I wonder if there are any divine pills that can reduce the disaster. Zhuowen's eyes lit up. This pill furnace city was the core of the pill furnace star field. There were many different types of god pills here. Perhaps he could find a god pill that could reduce the disaster. Thinking of this, Zhuowen immediately stood up and left the inn. Before leaving the inn, he asked the shopkeeper about the biggest place to sell god pills in Pill Furnace City. He found out that there was only one place to sell god pills in Pill Furnace City. That was the Pill Tower. The Pill Tower was divided into 10 levels. The first 9 levels sold god pills from level 1 to level 9. The 10th level was the core of the Pill Tower, and there were many elders of the Pill Tower guarding the pill fire above the 10th level. Of course, not all of the god pills in the Pill Tower belonged to the Pill Tower. Most of them were sold by the alchemists of the Pill Furnace Starfield. These alchemists sold god pills in the Pill Tower, and they had to pay the Pill Tower a certain amount of rent. However, it was said that the 8th and 9th levels were controlled by the Pill Tower. The level 8 and level 9 god pills were sold by the Pill Tower. Of course, not everyone could enter the 8th and 9th levels. One had to have the Pill Tower's token to enter or be recommended by others. After asking around, Zhuowen directly walked towards the Pill Tower. After a while, Zhuowen arrived in front of the Pill Tower. The Pill Tower was extremely lively, and there were people coming and going. He didn't receive any obstructions when he entered the first level. The Pill Tower was very big, and there were countless people inside. However, Zhuowen didn't feel that it was crowded. This showed how big the Pill Tower was. On the first level, there were white jade platforms. In front of the platforms stood alchemists in loose robes. On the platforms, there were many brocade boxes. God pills lay quietly in the brocade boxes, and the names of the God pills were written on the front of the brocade boxes. Zhuowen casually walked around, and he immediately lost interest. Just as the shopkeeper said, the first level was basically filled with level 1 God pills. They were useless to Zhuowen. However, Zhuowen remembered that the true God, 3 disaster didn't need to be of a high level, so he casually walked to the front of a platform. On this platform was an old man in a white robe. When he saw Zhuowen walk over, he only nodded indifferently. He didn't have any intention of soliciting or introducing him. "Friend, I want to ask what kind of God pill can weaken the wind disaster of the true God, 3 disasters?" Zhuowen asked tentatively. The white-robed old man raised his head and sized up Zhuowen. When he discovered that Zhuowen was a powerful void sky expert, he asked doubtfully, "You don't seem to need this thing, right?" "My junior needs it." Zhuowen casually made up a lie. The white-robed old man nodded and pointed at a brocade box. "If you want to weaken the wind disaster, use this wind avoidance pill. This God pill can greatly weaken the power of the wind disaster. It's very suitable for the true God, 3 disasters." Zhuowen looked at the wind avoidance pill and discovered that it was also a level 1 God pill. He creased his eyebrows and revealed a hesitant expression. It should be known that his doppelganger wasn't an ordinary true God, 3 disasters, but a true God, 3 disasters, who had already become a true God of thunder and fire. The wind disaster was also countless times stronger than an ordinary true God, 3 disasters. It was a wind disaster that even a void sky 8th level cultivator feared. Zhuowen wasn't sure if a mere level 1 God pill could really weaken the power of the wind disaster of his doppelganger. "Why? You don't believe me?" When the white-robed old man saw Zhuowen creasing his eyebrows, he couldn't help but ask unhappily. Zhuowen smiled apologetically and said, "My junior isn't an ordinary true God, 3 disasters. He is a cultivator who has advanced to real God, extreme thunder, and real God, extreme fire at the same time. Now he is advancing to real God, extreme wind." So, at first, the white-robed old man didn't care. However, the moment he heard what Zhuowen said, his turbid eyes narrowed into slits. He sized up Zhuowen and said after a long while, "Your junior is planning to advance to real God, 3 extremes." Zhuowen touched the back of his head and said, "That's indeed the case." After the white-robed old man confirmed what Zhuowen said, he looked around and immediately sent a message to Zhuowen carefully. "If what you said is true, I will bring you to see someone who can help your junior." Chapter 2366. Heavenly Fragrance. Pill. The white-robed elder's face reddened as he hurriedly said, "This wind avoidance pill is only effective on ordinary true gods, 3 disasters. It shouldn't have any effect on a junior like you." Zhuowen nodded and cupped his fists. "Thank you for your help, friend." Although Zhuowen said that, he was actually quite afraid. This elder's expression couldn't escape his eyes. Originally, this elder didn't care about him, but now that he heard about true God, 3 extremes, he immediately became so enthusiastic. Of course, Zhuowen wasn't afraid. This elder's cultivation wasn't high. At most, he was only at virtual Sky 1. He really wasn't afraid of what tricks this guy could play. The white-robed elder put away the high platform and then led Zhuowen to the top of the pill pagoda. The white-robed elder led Zhuowen up floor by floor. They passed through the 2nd floor, the 3rd floor, and all the way to the 7th floor. As they kept going up, Zhuowen realized that the higher they went, the fewer people there were. Of course, the grade of the divine pills was also higher. The white-robed elder stopped and looked at Zhuowen with a smile. "Friend, I still haven't asked for your name." "Long One." Zhuowen replied indifferently. The white-robed elder nodded and said, "I'm Ping Peng. Others call me Elder Peng." You can also call me Elder Pung. Now, I have to go up and ask for instructions. When the time comes, I'll come down to find you. You're from the Pill Tower? Zhuowen looked at the white-robed old man with a low cultivation base in astonishment. The white-robed elder's eyes revealed a trace of sadness. He waved his hand and said, "How can I enter the Pill Pagoda's eyes? It's just that there's an acquaintance in the Pill Pagoda. This acquaintance can help you with your junior's matter." When the white-robed elder was about to turn and walk up, Zhuowen said, "Elder Peng, we've only met by chance. Why are you helping me? And you're going to find an acquaintance?" The white-robed old man turned around and said earnestly, "Brother Long, please believe me. I definitely don't have any bad intentions, nor have I ever thought of harming you. It's just that true God Senji is very important to this acquaintance of mine. He once said that if there's any news about this kind of person, I must definitely tell him." So Zhuowen frowned slightly. Although he didn't quite believe it, the sincerity in the old man's eyes didn't seem to be fake. "Go, I'll wait for you here." Zhuowen said indifferently, "Many thanks." The white-robed old man expressed his gratitude and headed to the 8th floor. Furthermore, Zhuowen discovered that there were already people guarding the staircase from the 8th floor onwards. If one did not have the corresponding token or procedures, they would not be allowed to enter. Since he was bored waiting, Zhuowen began to stroll around the 7th floor. The divine pills sold on the 7th floor were basically all level 7 divine pills, and there were even fewer people. However, most of them were Void Sky experts, so they were obviously experts who could afford level 7 divine pills. Heavenly Fragrance Pill. Zhuowen walked to the front of a rather solemn platform and discovered that there was only a brocade box on the platform. The words Heavenly Fragrance Pill were written on the brocade box. Zhuowen had heard of the Heavenly Fragrance Pill before. It was a level 7 divine pill, but it was extremely rare. Moreover, the Heavenly Fragrance Pill was usually used by female cultivators. It was basically impossible for male cultivators to use this kind of thing. The Heavenly Fragrance Pill's function was to allow female cultivators to naturally emit a rich body fragrance. Moreover, this kind of body fragrance could also improve one's cultivation. Of course, the Heavenly Fragrance Pill also had another important function, which was to allow female cultivators to continuously expel the toxins in their bodies after consuming it, causing their bodies and skin to become even more perfect. This thing could be said to be a fatal temptation to female cultivators. Everyone loved beauty, not to mention female cultivators who had a longer lifespan. They cared more about their appearance. There were even many female cultivators who were willing to spend most of their money on maintaining their appearance. As for the Heavenly Fragrance Pill, that could naturally emit a body fragrance that could improve one's cultivation and also maintain one's appearance, it was very popular among female cultivators. The one selling the Heavenly Fragrance Pill on the platform was a beautiful female cultivator. It was clear that this female cultivator specialized in selling Heavenly Fragrance Pills. There was only a single Heavenly Fragrance Pill left on the platform, so it was clear that all the other Heavenly Fragrance Pills had been sold, and there was only this one left. Seeing the Heavenly Fragrance Pill, Zhuowen couldn't help thinking of Mu Qinxue. If he could buy this Heavenly Fragrance Pill and give it to Qinxue, perhaps she would be very happy. Although Zhuowen didn't have any news about Mu Qinxue, he knew that once he became stronger, he would charge into the great Brahma Heavenly Palace. He knew that since Mu Qinxue had already come to the great Brahma Heavenly Palace once, it meant that she had a grudge with the great Brahma Heavenly Palace. Since it was like this, she would definitely come to the great Brahma Heavenly Palace a second time. As long as he waited in the great Brahma Heavenly Palace, he would definitely be able to meet Mu Qinxue. However, he wasn't strong enough now. If he went to the great Brahma Heavenly Palace, he would probably be kicked out before he could even enter the door. When the time comes, I can give the heavenly fragrance pill to her. Zhuowen muttered as he came to the front of the platform. How much is the heavenly fragrance pill? Zhuowen asked. The female cultivator looked at Zhuowen indifferently and said, 1,000,000 high-grade divine stones. Zhuowen's gaze froze. Wasn't the price of the heavenly fragrance pill a little too expensive? Just one pill would cost 1,000,000 high-grade divine stones. If you think it's too expensive, please leave. Don't disturb my business. The female cultivator saw Zhuowen's expression, and her tone was rather impolite. Zhuowen frowned slightly, but he didn't care too much. Instead, he threw a storage bag to the female cultivator and said, there are 1,000,000 high-grade divine stones in here. I'll buy the heavenly fragrance pill. The female cultivator tapped the storage bag and nodded. Zhuowen picked up the heavenly fragrance pill. Wait! Suddenly, a clear female voice interrupted Zhuowen's actions. Zhuowen kept the heavenly fragrance pill, then turned around and saw two figures standing behind him. One of the two figures was a beautiful woman dressed coquettishly, while the other was a handsome young man dressed in a long robe. The two of them stood there like a golden boy and a jade girl. They were quite compatible, and the one who spoke just now was the coquettishly dressed woman. What is it? Zhuowen unhurriedly kept the heavenly fragrance pill into his spirit ring and looked at the two of them indifferently. The beautiful woman watched as Zhuowen kept the heavenly fragrance pill. Her brows furrowed slightly as she said, "It just so happens that I need the heavenly fragrance pill too. Can you part with it and give it to me?" Zhuowen looked at the woman with amusement and said, "Sorry, I don't plan to sell the heavenly fragrance pill." The beautiful woman was rather displeased as she said, "From the looks of it, you don't have a Tao companion. What's the use of buying the heavenly fragrance pill? Could it be that you want to use it yourself? How do you know that we have a Tao companion? And whether I have a Tao companion or not has nothing to do with you, right?" Zhuowen sneered. The beautiful woman's face immediately darkened. Clearly, she was very displeased with the attitude of this cultivator in front of her. Chapter 2367. Make things difficult. Gushan, don't get angry over some small fry. It's too degrading. Let me handle it. The handsome young man smiled at the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman blushed slightly and said sweetly, "Wanjie, I knew you were the best. As long as you take action, you'll definitely succeed." Zhuowen really couldn't stand watching the two of them being lovey-dovey and said indifferently, "Sorry, I don't agree to sell the heaven fragrance pill in my possession. It's useless no matter how much you pay." The handsome young man glanced at Zhuowen and said with a mocking smile, "Oh, looks like you're very confident. You're just a nobody, yet you're so tough. I really admire you." As he spoke, the handsome young man turned around to look at the female cultivator on the high platform, and then he withdrew a flame command token and said, "Friend, the heavenly fragrance pill was something that we took a fancy to first, yet this fellow suddenly snatched it away from us, right?" The moment the female cultivator saw the flame token, a trace of fear and respect appeared in her beautiful eyes. She glanced at Zhuowen and hurriedly lowered her head. "Sir, you're right. This person snatched our heaven fragrance pill away, and what's more hateful is that he didn't even pay. He's really too hateful. We should let the enforcers take him away." The handsome young man nodded with satisfaction and put away the flame token. Then he looked at Zhuowen with a cold smile and said, "Friend, do you still want to monopolize the last heaven fragrance pill? I advise you to immediately take that thing out and give it to my Tao companion, then kneel on the ground and apologize to the two of us for your actions just now. Otherwise, the pill tower's enforcers won't be so reasonable Zhuowen silently looked at the handsome young man with a complacent expression, but he fell into deep thought. He noticed that the flame token this young man took out was the same as the white-robed old man's. It seemed like he was also from the Pill Tower. Moreover, this person was so fearless. He probably had some background in the Pill Tower. "Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what Wanjie said? Hurry up and kneel down and give the heaven fragrance pill to me." The beautiful woman did not conceal the complacency in her eyes. She immediately came in front of Zhuowen and pointed at Zhuowen's nose. Unfortunately, just as the beautiful woman reached her hand in front of Zhuowen's nose, her hand was immediately grabbed by Zhuowen. "What do you want to do?" The beautiful woman was shocked and shouted, "Don't point your dirty finger at me." Zhuowen exerted force with his right hand and twisted the beautiful woman's hand. Then he threw her away like a piece of trash. The handsome youth's expression was unsightly. He hugged the beautiful woman and glared at Zhuowen. "How dare you? You actually dare to make a move in the Pill Tower? Where are the enforcers?" The commotion between Zhuowen and the handsome young man immediately alarmed the other cultivators on the 7th floor. One by one, they cast their gazes over and looked over in surprise. When they saw the handsome young man, they all began to discuss spiritedly. From the surrounding discussions, Zhuowen realized that the handsome young man's identity was not simple. The Pill Tower was originally managed by the 9 Great Elders. Because the Great Elder had suddenly passed away a few days ago, the Pill Tower now only had 8 elders. The handsome young man's name was Feng Wanjie. He was the only son of the Pill Tower's 7th elder. He was a spoiled brat. No one in the Pill Tower dared to provoke him. Deng, deng, deng. Just as Feng Wanjie finished speaking, the enforcers on the 7th floor rushed over. There were only 18 enforcers on the 7th floor, but each of them was at least at the 6th floor of the Void Sky Realm. The leader was at the peak of the 7th floor of the Void Sky Realm. When the old man in the lead saw Feng Wanjie, he revealed a look of surprise. Then he asked solemnly what happened, although the old enforcer said that his gaze was extremely unfriendly as he looked at Zhuowen. Anyone could see that it was indeed Zhuowen who made the first move. Zhuowen sighed softly in his heart. He did not expect that buying a heavenly fragrance pill would actually cause such unnecessary trouble. Zhuowen was just about to explain what happened just now when Feng Wanjie interrupted. "Not only did this person forcefully snatch the heavenly fragrance pill we bought, he even flew into a rage out of humiliation and directly attacked in the Pill Tower. He is truly hateful. If this person is not captured, the heavens will not tolerate it." The old enforcer narrowed his eyes. Then he looked coldly at Zhuowen and said, "Since that's the case, you should surrender now and save us the trouble of making a move." Zhuowen silently looked at the enforcer leader and Feng Wanjie, who echoed each other, especially when he saw the smug smile on Feng Wanjie's face. Zhuowen felt even more displeased in his heart. "I've never been a troublemaker, but sometimes things just have to provoke me. In that case, don't blame me for being impolite." As he spoke, Zhuowen's right hand suddenly grabbed at Feng Wanjie. "You've got guts." The enforcer leader's pupils shrank. With a loud roar, he rushed toward Zhuowen. The other enforcers behind him also surrounded Zhuowen from all directions. Boom, boom, boom. Zhuowen sneered. His right hand that was reaching toward Feng Wanjie changed direction and blasted toward the enforcers. The power of space-time law suddenly erupted. Instantly, more than 10 enforcers were instantly sent flying and smashed into the ground not far away. The enforcer leader was in an even more miserable state. He was directly slammed into the rock wall by Zhuowen's palm. For a moment, the 7th floor was dead silent. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. They clearly did not expect that someone would actually dare to cause trouble here and even hit enforcers. This was truly audacious. After all, this was the Pill Tower. You've got guts. Do you know what you're doing? Feng Wanjia's pupils shrank. He looked at Zhuowen with some fear. He did not expect this white-clothed youth to be so fearless. He even dared to hit enforcers. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the early stage of the Void Sky 7th step. If even the enforcer leader was sent flying with a single slap, he was definitely not a match for this youth. Scram! Zhuowen said coldly. Feng Wanjia's expression was unsightly. He did not even care about the beautiful woman. He ran toward the 8th floor in a panic. The beautiful woman, on the other hand, was in a daze, especially when she saw Zhuowen looking at her. She ran away in a panic. After experiencing this incident, Zhuowen was in a bad mood. When he saw that the white-robed old man still had not come out, Zhuowen did not wait any longer. It was not that he could not resolve the matter of the wind disaster. Now that he was unhappy because of this matter, he really did not want to wait any longer. Thus, he walked down the stairs of the Pill Tower, planning to leave. However, when Zhuowen arrived at the first level of the Pill Pagoda and was about to walk out the door, a powerful restriction appeared at the door, blocking Zhuowen's path. Get the hell up here. You hit an enforcer and have no regard for the law. Do you think you can just walk away like this? A loud shout suddenly came from the top of the Pill Tower. It was like thunder in Zhuowen's mind. Chapter 2368. The 7th elder of the Pill Tower Zhuowen grunted coldly and paid no attention to that voice at all. Instead, his sleeves bulged as he suddenly smashed his fist onto the restriction at the entrance. Boom! Zhuowen's full-powered punch contained the power of the space-time rules as it heavily smashed into the restriction. The restriction shook violently as layers of invisible ripples appeared on its surface. It exploded with a loud bang as if it would shatter at any moment. The restriction on the first level of the Pill Tower was not strong. Zhuowen punched again, causing space-time to distort and shatter the restriction. The sound of the restriction shattering immediately attracted the attention of everyone on the first level. Numerous gazes shot towards the white-clothed young man standing at the entrance, revealing a puzzled expression. Clearly, they did not know what had happened. How dare you? You're courting death. A cold snort came from above the Pill Tower. This time, the voice was not transmitted through divine consciousness, but directly spread outside the Pill Tower. For a moment, the cultivators in the Pill Tower turned pale with fright. They did not know what was going on. Then, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. The footsteps did not belong to one person, but a group of people. Then, the cultivators on the first level saw groups of law enforcers walking up from the Pill Tower. There were at least 100 of them. 2 figures walked in front of the law enforcers. One was old, and the other was young. The young man was no stranger to Zhuowen. It was Feng Wanjia, who had fled from the 7th level of the Pill Tower. The old man standing beside Feng Wanjia was about 60 years old. His hair was mottled with black and white, and he looked somewhat similar to Feng Wanjia. There were traces of old-fashioned patterns on his face. Although Zhuowen did not know this old man, he could tell from Feng Wanjia's posture that this old man was most likely Feng Wanjia's father, who was also the 7th elder of the Pill Tower. It's the 7th elder of the Pill Tower. What's going on? Could it be that this youth has done something wrong? He actually provoked the 7th elder to take action. The 7th elder of the Pill Tower has a high position and rarely shows himself. This time, he actually showed up because of a white-robed youth. I wonder where this youth came from. Waves of discussions and commotion broke out in the surroundings. They were all discussing the white-clothed young man. The enforcers surrounded Zhuowen. The seventh elder looked at Zhuowen coldly and said, "Do you know your crime?" Zhuowen silently glanced at the seventh elder, then looked at the complacent Feng Ruanjie beside the seventh elder, and said indifferently, "Feng Ruanjie, I originally had no enmity with you, and I let you go before. Aren't you pushing your luck now?" When the seventh elder saw that Zhuowen was ignoring him, his eyes darkened, and he looked at Feng Ruanjie. Feng Ruanjie was still rather afraid of his father, but he still skillfully twisted the truth and said, "Father, as you can see, this person not only beat up the enforcers, but also stole my things. In the end, he was still so impudent. Do you think we can let such a treacherous person go? This kind of person can be arrogant in other places, but he actually dares to be so arrogant in the Pill Tower. Where did he get his qualifications and confidence from? He's simply asking for humiliation." The seventh elder nodded, not doubting Feng Ruanjie's words. Then he looked at Zhuowen. Just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by Zhuowen. "You don't need to say anything. You just want to take me away. But today, this young master is in a very bad mood. You've successfully provoked me." Zhuowen coldly snorted and took a step forward, rushing toward Feng Ruanjie. Zhuowen didn't care about the surrounding enforcers, but the seventh elder was a little troublesome. However, the seventh elder's cultivation wasn't very high. He was probably at the intermediate void, sky eighth step. Zhuowen really didn't care about this kind of cultivation. Good. How dare you? Not only did you knowingly break the law, but you also directly attacked. If I don't take you down today, where will the Pill Tower's face go?" The seventh elder was so angry that he started laughing. Zhuowen's actions were simply challenging his bottom line. A mere void, sky seventh step cultivator was actually so arrogant. This was the seventh elder's first time seeing this. The seventh elder originally planned to be merciful, but now that this white-clothed youth had successfully angered him, he definitely wouldn't be lenient this time. The seventh elder suddenly spat out a mouthful of red alchemic fire. Soon after, the alchemic fire turned into a huge fire python and rushed toward Zhuowen. Zhuowen could feel that the alchemic fire spat out by the seventh elder was extraordinary. Its power was extremely terrifying. Even Zhuowen himself was scared witless. Although the alchemic fire's power wasn't as strong as the black-clothed Zhuowen's extreme flame, it wasn't much different. Zhuowen took out the phagocytosis. With a flip of his right hand, the phagocytosis turned into the size of a mountain and suppressed the fire python. At the same time, Zhuowen was like a bolt of lightning, quickly disappearing from the spot. When Zhuowen's figure reappeared, he was already beside Feng Ruanjie. The seventh elder didn't expect that this youth with a low cultivation in front of him actually grasped the power of space-time law. He was caught off guard and actually allowed him to get close to him. "Get lost!" The seventh elder roared when he saw Zhuowen appear beside Feng Ruanjie. His right hand suddenly struck the void. Waves of flames turned into sharp flaming swords that pierced toward Zhuowen's fatal points. Zhuowen withdrew his sleeve, and the phagocytosis appeared in front of him, instantly blocking the seventh elder's flaming swords. Then, his right hand suddenly grabbed toward Feng Ruanjie. Feng Ruanjie's cultivation wasn't high, so Zhuowen easily caught him. Feng Ruanjie didn't even have a chance to resist. Zhuowen carried Feng Ruanjie with his right hand and stomped his right foot on the ground. He then left the place with the phagocytosis. At this moment, the enforcers had already gathered and set up an inescapable net. The moment Zhuowen left, the enforcers immediately rushed forward, and their combined attacks landed on Zhuowen's body. Zhuowen raised his right hand and the phagocytosis was lifted above his head. The power of Taoist rhymes constantly circulated on the surface of the phagocytosis, causing the power of the phagocytosis to reach an extremely terrifying level. When the enforcers' combined attacks landed on the phagocytosis, they were all destroyed by the Taoist rhymes on the phagocytosis's surface. The phagocytosis had fused with 2 Tao fruits and was much more powerful than before. The enforcer's cultivation was at the peak of the 7th step of the void sky realm. Even if they joined forces, they still couldn't break through the phagocytosis's defense. Why aren't you letting go of Wanjia? The 7th elder anxiously shouted when he saw Zhuowen grab Feng Wanjia. Chapter 2369. On the 10th floor of the Pill Pagoda Feng, Wanjia was a little panicked, but he calmed down when he remembered that he was in the Pill Pagoda. He sneered, "Are you trying to threaten me? You should know that this is the Pill Pagoda. You've made such a big fuss that the other elders will probably come out soon. Will you still dare to be so arrogant later? If I were you, I would release the hostage and let myself be captured. That way, your crime would be lighter." Zhuowen looked at the smug Feng Wanjia, who didn't know the situation he was in. He had already determined that this guy was an idiot. Feng Wanjia had already become his hostage, yet he was still so smug. He was simply courting death. Slap! Thinking of this, Zhuowen couldn't be bothered to say anything more to Feng Wanjia. He directly sent a slap over. Immediately, Feng Wanjia's right cheek became red and swollen. He spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with some broken teeth. Zhuowen didn't show any mercy this time. He had used almost all of his strength. Although Feng Wanjia was also a void sky expert, he actually became somewhat delirious after being slapped in the face. "You're not going to talk?" Zhuowen sneered. His right hand didn't stop slapping Feng Wanjia's face. Before long, Feng Wanjia's cheeks were swollen. His face was so swollen that he looked like an ugly pig's head. Don't hit me anymore. I'll talk. Feng Wanjia shrieked. He didn't dare to be stubborn anymore. Although the slaps were only superficial, Zhuowen had used a lot of force. Every slap made Feng Wanjia feel so much pain that he wanted to die. He just wanted to end this pain as soon as possible. "It's all because of me. I wronged this brother. It's all because of me." Under Zhuowen's coercion, Feng Wanjia recounted everything that had happened on the 7th floor. The 7th elder's face darkened. He hadn't expected that all of this had happened because of his son. "7th elder, you hold a high position in the alchemy furnace, and you enforce the law impartially. I don't think you would abuse your power for personal gain, right?" Zhuowen casually tossed Feng Wanjia to the ground, but his gaze landed on the 7th elder. At this moment, the 7th elder looked at the white-clothed young man in front of him with fear. This white-robed young man looked like he was only at the 7th step of the void sky realm, but his strength was terrifying. His methods were decisive and ruthless. He was a vicious person. In addition, his son, Feng Wanjia, had confessed everything. This matter was indeed not the fault of this white-clothed youth. "You hit one of our pill towers, enforcers. How are you going to settle this matter? Are we just going to let it go like this?" 7th elder said coldly. Zhuowen smiled faintly and said, "If it weren't for your son, I wouldn't have a conflict with the law enforcement officers and wouldn't have been forced to take action. What do you think?" The 7th elder frowned. Although what Zhuowen said was not wrong, he was not willing to accept it. Zhuowen had beaten up the law enforcement officers and his son. Zhuowen was disrespectful to him. How could the 7th elder be willing to let Zhuowen go just like that? What happened? Just as Zhuowen and the 7th elder were in a deadlock on the 1st level of the pill tower, two figures walked down from the top of the pill tower. These two figures were not young. One of them was the white-robed elder who had entered the 8th level of the pill tower previously. The other person was dressed in a gray robe. His eyes were cold, and his expression was solemn. He had a dignified aura around him. The gray-robed elder was the one who had said those words just now. "Second elder, you're finally here." The moment the 7th elder saw the gray-robed elder, he immediately went up to him as if he had seen his savior. After the pill tower's great elder passed away, the person with the highest authority in the pill tower naturally fell to the 2nd elder. The 2nd elder of the pill tower was not a simple person. He was an existence who was even more powerful than the great elder. However, because his alchemy skills were not as good as the great elders, he was forced to take the position of the 2nd elder. To be honest, the 2nd elder's prestige in the pill tower was much higher than the great elders when he was alive. The other elders of the pill tower were very respectful of the 2nd elder. The 2nd elder indifferently glanced at the 7th elder. His cold gaze suddenly fell on Zhuowen's body. Soon after, he started to size up his surroundings. Zhuowen's pupils shrank. The moment the 2nd elder's gaze fell on him, he actually had the misconception that he had been seen through. This feeling made him feel very uncomfortable. Moreover, he also discovered that the 2nd elder's cultivation should only be at the half-step virtual sky 9th step. However, it gave him the feeling that he had been seen through. This was really too abnormal. When he had faced Kuang, Li, or the elder from the Lu Shrine, he did not have this feeling of being seen through. However, when he met the 2nd elder, he had this feeling. This made Zhuowen have a misconception that the 2nd elder was not simple. Moreover, Zhuowen was sure that this was not an illusion. The 2nd elder was indeed not simple. At this moment, the 7th elder was already whispering something to the 2nd elder. It should be about what Zhuowen had done before. Zhuowen's gaze was calm. If the 2nd elder also sided with the 7th elder, Zhuowen would not be polite. At that time, he would not hesitate to use the waning sun at the sea to teach the pill tower a profound lesson. However, contrary to Zhuowen's expectations, the 2nd elder only nodded calmly. Then he pointed at Zhuowen and said with a smile, "You are Zhuowen, right? Elder Peng mentioned you to me. I have some matters to discuss with you. Come with me to the pill tower's 10th floor." As soon as the 2nd elder said this, the surroundings instantly became deathly silent. Some people even suspected that there was something wrong with their ears and subconsciously picked at them. The pill tower's 10th floor was the highest floor of the pill tower. It was also the place closest to the pill tower's alchemic fire. It was also the most important place in the pill tower. It was said that apart from the pill tower's elders, even the pill tower's enforcers could not enter the 10th floor, let alone others. But now, the 2nd elder had actually invited an unknown white-clothed youth to the 10th floor. Many people felt that the 2nd elder was joking. "2nd elder, you aren't joking with us, right?" The 7th elder smiled, embarrassedly. The 2nd elder looked seriously at the 7th elder and said, "Do I look like I'm joking?" The 7th elder's face stiffened. He stood on the spot at a loss. He did not know how to reply to the 2nd elder. As for Feng Wanjie, who had been casually tossed to the ground by Zhuowen and had been beaten into a pig's head, his body trembled. Originally, he was rather delighted when he saw the 2nd elder come down. He thought that the 2nd elder would seek justice for him. However, the 2nd elder's words made him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. His entire body stiffened. Even he, the son of the 7th elder, did not have the qualifications to enter the pill tower's 10th floor. Only his father had the qualifications to enter. But now, The second elder had actually openly invited an outsider to enter the pill tower's 10th floor. Moreover, this outsider had just fiercely slapped him. This made Feng Ruanjie feel humiliated. However, Feng Ruanjie was helpless. The second elder had the final say in the pill tower now. Since it was the second elder's suggestion, then even his father did not have the qualifications to object. Chapter 2370. Pillflame, Zhuo please. The second elder couldn't help but speak up when he saw Zhuowen's indifference. However, Zhuowen frowned slightly. He looked at the second elder and said, I heard that Elder Peng can solve the problem of that junior of mine. Are you sure? Everyone looked at Zhuowen as if they were looking at an idiot when they heard Zhuowen's question. One had to know that it was an honor to be able to enter the 10th level of the pill tower. However, this white-clothed youth was actually so calm. Moreover, he even questioned the second elder. Wasn't this just courting death? The second elder didn't get angry. He smiled and said, If you trust me, then follow me to the 10th level. If you don't, then you can leave now. Zhuowen nodded and said, I'll follow you to the 10th level. The second elder smiled. Then he walked up the pill tower with his hands behind his back. Meanwhile, the white-robed Elder Peng came to Zhuowen's side and reminded him, Brother Zhuo, you really are casual. This is the second elder of the pill tower. He's the person in charge of the pill tower. The second elder invited me to the 10th level, so he must have a request. Naturally, he needs to show some sincerity. As for me, I just need to verify the authenticity of this sincerity, Zhuowen said indifferently. However, Elder Peng gave him a thumbs up and said, You really have a personality. When the second elder led Zhuowen to the 10th level, it attracted the attention of many cultivators in the pill tower. Clearly, they were all wondering who the white-clothed youth behind the second elder was. It's him? When Zhuowen arrived at the 9th level, he quickly saw a familiar voice. He saw a fat figure haggling with the seller on the high platform in front of the 9th level. Zhuowen wasn't unfamiliar with this fat figure. Wasn't it Ma Yujie? Zhuowen didn't greet Ma Yujie. This fellow was indeed quite capable to be able to enter the 9th level. However, he believed that no matter how capable Ma Yujie was, he shouldn't be able to enter the 10th level. After all, not just anyone could enter the 10th floor. After entering the 10th floor, Zhuowen realized that the space on the 10th floor was not very big. It was only about 100 square meters. However, the instant he entered the 10th floor, Zhuowen felt a terrifying wave of heat wash over him. Zhuowen's entire body felt unbearably hot, as if his internal organs were on fire. This kind of scorching heat was not a pleasant feeling. Swallow this, and the alchemy fire won't reject you. The second elder stopped and handed a green pill to Zhuowen. Zhuowen took the pill and immediately felt a refreshing feeling spreading from his fingertips to his limbs and bones. After swallowing the pill, the burning sensation in his body immediately disappeared. Moreover, his body felt light as a feather and extremely comfortable. After the discomfort subsided, Zhuowen began to size up the mysterious 10th level of the Pill Pagoda. This space wasn't very large, and it was dim and desolate. Besides a brazier that was over 3 m wide standing at the center, this space was completely empty, and it was extremely desolate. A strange flame burned in the brazier. This flame was shaped like a pill furnace, and inside the furnace, Zhuowen could vaguely see more than 10 sparkling and translucent divine pills. The medicinal power of these divine pills was extremely rich. Although most of the medicinal power was covered by the restrictions set up in the surroundings, Zhuowen could still vaguely feel how surging the medicinal power of these divine pills was. Level 9 divine pills. Zhuowen muttered. He knew that only level 9 divine pills could have such surging medicinal power. What surprised Zhuowen even more was that these level 9 divine pills were not refined by this flame. Instead, they were consumed by this flame. Because as the flames in the pill furnace continued to burn, time continued to pass, and the medicinal power was weakening, and the dozen or so divine pills also began to dim and lose their luster. This is the foundation of our pill pagoda. The second elder slowly turned around and pointed at the pill furnace flame in the brazier with his right hand and said in a deep voice, "The huge flame burning at the top of the pill pagoda is an enlarged image of this pill fire. You don't have to be confused about this." Seeing Zhuowen's puzzled expression, the second elder explained in a timely manner, "These level 9 divine pills are for the continuation of the pill fire?" Zhuowen asked. The second elder nodded calmly and said, "You guessed right, it is indeed for the continuation of the pill fire. This pill fire was passed down by our ancestors. With this pill fire, you can increase the success rate of alchemy by 50%. Moreover, it is the only pill fire that can refine Tao-confirming divine pills." Tao-confirming divine pills? Zhuowen's pupils shrank, and he couldn't help but stare at the slightly dim pill fire in a daze. Zhuowen had only heard of the Tao Confirmation Divine Pill in legends. It was said that the Tao Confirmation Divine Pill could help cultivators in the two extremes of life and death to reach the Tao Confirmation realm, increasing the success rate of reaching the Tao Confirmation realm. It could be said that the Tao confirming divine pills were many times more precious than the life and death pill. Unfortunately, this kind of pill was hard to come by in 10,000 years, and Zhuowen had never heard of anyone obtaining a Tao confirming divine pill. Of course, Zhuowen had never heard of a Tao confirming powerhouse. He only knew that the remains sealed in the blood-stained cliff and the space-time quicksand river were the remains of a Tao-confirming powerhouse. As for a complete Tao-confirming powerhouse, Zhuowen had never seen one. Of course, a void Sky 9 Ascension cultivator was already a powerhouse that was difficult for him to reach, let alone a more terrifying Tao-confirming powerhouse. At least for now, Tao-confirming divine pills was still a bit far away from Zhuowen. "You should have a deeper meaning for telling me about this pill fire, right?" Zhuowen calmed down and said lightly. The second elder looked at Zhuowen and sighed softly. "I heard from old Peng that you have a junior who walks the path of a tripolar true god. Can you ask that junior of yours to come to the 10th level of the pill furnace?" "What's the matter?" "I need to understand the ins and outs of this matter. After ensuring that it's safe, I will bring my junior here," Zhuowen said lightly. "This pill fire is the foundation of the pill tower. You have also seen that the pill fire is gradually extinguishing. In order to let it linger on at death's door, we can only continuously use heaven and earth treasures to maintain the life of this pill fire. However, this method is only a temporary measure. The pill fire will extinguish one day. In order to let the pill fire last a little longer, the great elder willingly sacrificed his life to let the pill fire last for half a year. However, after half a year, the pill fire will be extinguished and the pill tower will gradually decline in the future." Speaking up to here, the second elder suddenly looked at Zhuowen excitedly and said, "However, there are records in the ancient books of the pill tower that the energy of a tripolar true gods, extreme lightning, extreme fire, and extreme wind can rejuvenate the pill fire. However, it's a pity that there are too few tripolar true gods. I have searched bitterly for hundreds of years, but I have not found a tripolar true god in the Six Desires heavenly territory. In other words, no one has ever cultivated the path of a tripolar true god because this tripolar true god has its limitations. In the future, it will stop at a tripolar true god, and be unable to progress further. Chapter 2371. Transaction Zhuowen came to a sudden realization. So they were here for the extreme Tao power of the triple extreme true God. Second Elder, are you sure that the extreme Tao power can make the alchemy fire glow with vitality? Zhuowen asked. The second elder said with great certainty, I'm sure, although I've never tried it. Since the Pill Pagoda's records mentioned it, it definitely can't be wrong. Zhuowen was a bit speechless. Wasn't this second elder too trusting of the Pill Pagoda's records? Of course, as long as your junior can come. Even if he doesn't succeed in the end, I won't treat him unfairly. As he spoke, the second elder took out an exquisite brocade box from his bosom and handed it to Zhuowen. This is my greeting gift to you, Junior. Zhuowen casually opened the brocade box and was immediately shocked by the medicinal power emanating from it. Inside the brocade box was a divine pill with green stripes. This divine pill's medicinal power was extremely rich. Zhuowen was sure that this was definitely a level 9 divine pill. This is a level 8 divine pill, snow toad pill. It can effectively increase one's divine power. Its effect is equivalent to a cultivator's divine power after bitterly cultivating for 1,000 years, the second elder said indifferently. Zhuowen looked at the second elder in surprise. This second elder was really generous. He actually gave a level 8 divine pill as a greeting gift. However, Zhuowen also knew that now that he had accepted the greeting gift, it was actually equivalent to agreeing to the second elder's request. Will it be dangerous? Zhuowen muttered. The second elder smiled and said, No, but because the alchemy fire needs the extreme Tao energy as nutrients, it might absorb more. This isn't something that can be done in one go. Moreover, isn't your junior worried about the wind disaster? If the wind disaster descends, he can also be next to the alchemy fire. The alchemy fire will also help him absorb the wind disaster's power. Zhuowen raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the method that Elder Peng said could help him resist the wind disaster should be related to the alchemy fire. If the second elder wasn't lying, this should be a win-win situation. Shuo Xiaoyu, you should call your junior now, right? We still haven't seen that junior of yours. After the second elder promised the benefits, he stared at Zhuowen with a smile. Although the second elder was all smiles, Zhuowen could see a sharp glint in his eyes. He knew that if he lied in the slightest, this smiling second elder would immediately restrain him. Zhuowen shrugged and said, Don't worry, I'll call him out immediately. As he spoke, Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and a black figure shot out from Zhuowen's body. His black clothes fluttered in the wind. The second elder and Elder Peng's gazes landed on the black-clothed Zhuowen. Their eyes lit up when they sensed Zhuowen's dense extreme strength. This extreme power was extremely rich and surging, far stronger than anything they had ever seen before. The second elder arrived in front of the black-clothed Zhuowen. He sized up the black-clothed Zhuowen and placed his right hand on the black-clothed Zhuowen's shoulder. Although the black-clothed Zhuowen felt a little awkward, he still allowed the second elder to put his hand on his shoulder under the command of his original body. After second elder checked for a while, he laughed heartily and said, As expected, it is real God, Senji. I can feel the power of extreme thunder and extreme fire in your split body. The only thing missing is the power of extreme wind. How many wind disasters have you survived? The second elder looked at Zhuowen with bright eyes and asked, 6. However, my body is suppressing the 7th and 8th wind disasters. Moreover, it's gradually evolving towards the 9th wind disaster. I'm afraid that it'll be the 9th wind disaster very soon. If I can't suppress it then, there might be 3 wind disasters stacked together. Zhuowen sighed softly. Zhuo, One wasn't afraid of the 3 cyclones stacked on top of each other. What he was afraid of was the 9th cyclones, which was the most crucial one among the 3. The power of the 9th wind disaster would be even more terrifying than the power of the 8 wind disasters stacked together. It was an increase of several times. It should be known that Zhuowen didn't have the confidence to survive the 9th wind disaster. If there were to be the 7th and 8th wind disasters, he knew that the chances of him surviving the wind disasters by himself were quite slim. I see, the second elder was a little disappointed. It was obvious that Zhuowen had only survived a few wind disasters. There was still quite a distance between him and the 20th wind disaster. Second elder, the alchemy fire won't be able to last for too long. Elder Peng agreed. Second elder nodded and said, I know about that. However, although it lacks the power of the extreme wind, the 2 extreme powers of extreme fire and extreme thunder can extend the lifespan of the elixir fire by quite a bit. As long as you wait for your doppelganger to become a real god, triple pole, you can use the power of triple pole to revitalize the elixir fire. Shuo Xiaoyu, if you want to survive the wind disasters here, it's totally possible. The alchemy fire can reduce the power of the wind disasters. It'll be very beneficial for you to survive the wind disasters. Zhuowen looked at the second elder and said, Second elder, I plan to enter the Divine Pill's secret realm in 3 days. If you want to borrow the extreme power of my clone, you'll have to pay a price. The second elder was stunned. He didn't expect that the young man in front of him would also want to enter the Divine Pill's secret realm. However, when he thought about how the young man was just a rogue cultivator, it was understandable that he wanted to enter the Divine Pill's secret realm to try his luck. Tell me, what price do you want me to pay? The second elder said, I wonder if the Pill Tower has a record of the Divine Pill distribution map in the Divine Pill's secret realm. Zhuowen asked. The second elder and Elder Peng's expressions changed slightly. The second elder said, Seriously, this is the Pill Tower's secret. It can't be revealed casually. I can't tell you about it. Zhuowen shrugged and said, comparing the Divine Pill's secret realm's distribution map and the alchemy fire, which one do you think is more important? How about this? I don't need the exact distribution of the Divine Pill's secret realm. I just want the second elder to give me a rough guide. At least, can you give me a guide that can help me avoid danger? Zhuowen knew that the Pill Tower had guarded the Divine Pill's secret realm for countless years, so they must have a distribution map of the secret realm. Otherwise, how could the Pill Tower protect the Divine Pill's secret realm? And how could the Pill Tower possess so many divine pills? Everything the Pill Tower had was given to them by the Divine Pill's secret realm. The higher-ups of the Pill Tower must have a good understanding of the Divine Pill's secret realm. The second elder furrowed his brows. He looked at the slightly dim alchemy fire and sighed in the end. I promise you, as long as your clone can stay beside the alchemy fire will never stop growing. That's not a problem. However, I have to make it clear in advance. After I pass the 19th wind disaster, I will be teleported away by the power of the Great Brahma Heavenly Palace. I will enter the Great Brahma Heavenly Domain's Tower of Hanno. I will tell you about this first. Zhuowen said in a deep voice, Great Brahma Heavenly Domain. You are from the Great Brahma Heavenly Domain. Elder Peng looked at Zhuowen in surprise. Chapter 2372, Guidance Map. So that's how it is. Lord Brahma deliberately let you cultivate the 3 extremes. No wonder. The second elder frowned slightly as he muttered. Zhuowen looked at second elder. He felt that second elder wasn't simple right from the start. Looking at him, he should know something about Great Brahma. Second elder, is there a problem with Great Brahma? Zhuowen asked, Second Elder looked deeply at Zhuowen and said, "I'll give you the guidance map. However, after you survive the 19th storm here, you can take the alchemy fire away. Before you advance to Real God 3, the alchemy fire must not leave your side." Once Second Elder said that, Elder Peng's expression changed greatly. He was about to speak, but was stopped by Second Elder's gaze. Zhuowen looked at Second Elder in surprise. He didn't expect Second Elder to allow him to take the alchemy fire away. Although the alchemy fire was on its last breath, he could feel that the alchemy fire wasn't simple. If it was at its peak, it would probably be more terrifying than an extreme flame. Of course, what Zhuowen didn't know was that if the alchemy fire could really recover to its peak, it would be much scarier than an extreme flame. At that time, he would definitely be shocked. All right, you can cultivate beside the alchemy fire. If possible, it's best if you can channel your extreme power into the alchemy fire. This will be beneficial to the alchemy fire. I'll come back in 3 days. At that time, I'll bring the guidance map that you want. Second Elder was a straightforward person. After he finished speaking, he brought Elder Peng and left the place. Very soon, only Zhuowen was left on the 10th level. Zhuowen looked at the alchemy fire in front of him silently. He didn't know why, but when he looked at the alchemy fire, it was as though he was looking at a beating heart. The alchemy fire was clearly in the shape of a cauldron, but it actually gave him the feeling of a heart. This feeling made Zhuowen feel strange. He looked deeply at the alchemy fire, then sat cross-legged not far away while the black-clothed Zhuowen sat beside the brazier. Although Second Elder had mentioned that Zhuowen should use extreme power to restore some vitality to the alchemy fire, Zhuowen didn't do so in the end. The alchemy fire wasn't simple. He didn't dare to rashly follow Second Elder's instructions. He had to observe for a period of time. Plus, he planned to let his doppelganger's 9th storm descend within 3 days. He felt that the 9th storm was coming soon, but he had been suppressing it. Now that he wasn't suppressing it, the 9th storm would descend. He believed that he could descend the 9th storm descend. Within 3 days, he would, when the time came, the alchemy fire studio. Although Zhuowen still didn't know if this alchemic fire was really effective against his wind disaster, he knew that it was better to deal with it quickly than to prolong the pain. The 9th wind disaster was bound to descend, and he couldn't keep suppressing it. Rather than trying to weather the 3 storms in another place, it would be better to stay by the alchemic fire. After all, he felt that the Second Elder was not lying. Time slowly passed. On the 3rd day, the black-clothed Zhuowen, who was standing beside the brazier, suddenly stood up. A strange black wind began to surge around the black-clothed Zhuowen. The black wind became more and more terrifying and intense. In just an instant, the black-clothed Zhuowen was completely engulfed and disappeared. In the corner, the main body opened his eyes and looked at the figure wrapped in the black wind. He knew that the clone had already begun to overcome the wind disaster. Furthermore, he discovered that when the 3 calamities emerged from within his body, the originally dim alchemic fire in the brazier actually blazed a bit more vigorously at this moment. Then, the alchemic fire suddenly shot out and enveloped the black-robed Zhuowen. If one took a closer look, they would be able to see that the alchemic fire was actually devouring the wind disaster that had erupted from the surface of the black-clothed Zhuowen. In less than a quarter of an hour, the black wind on the surface of the black-clothed Zhuowen was completely devoured by the pill fire. After that, the pill fire flew out again and steadily landed in the brazier. At this moment, the pill fire was much more vigorous than before, and it was also much more energetic. Zhuowen even saw the pill fire actually yawn like a human, as if it had eaten and drunk enough. As for the black-clothed Zhuo, Wen's 3 wind disasters, they were completely devoured by the alchemy fire within a quarter of an hour. The clone's wind disaster was also easily overcome. Zhuowen felt that it was a bit unbelievable. Wasn't this a bit too fast? Generally speaking, a wind disaster would last for at least a few hours or even a few days and nights. However, the pill fire had actually devoured all the calamities that were about to erupt in his body in a quarter of an hour. It was done cleanly, without leaving a trace. The clone won't have to worry about the calamities in the future. The main body looked at the pill fire that seemed to be dozing off, and a dazzling light flashed across his eyes. Previously, he was still worried about how to avoid the calamities in the future. Now that he had the pill fire, he really didn't have to worry about the calamities in the future. Ha! Shuo Xiaoyou's extreme Dao True God's calamities are really useful. The pill fire was originally very weak, but now it's actually so energetic. At the entrance, a hearty voice could be heard. Zhuowen raised his head and saw the second elder coming in with a quaint piece of paper. The second elder's eyes were bright as he stared at the pill fire that had become much more vigorous. He couldn't help but laugh, and he seemed to be extremely happy. This is the guide map of the Divine Pill Secret Land, and I've marked out most of the dangerous places in the Divine Pill Secret Land. Also, you'd better not go to the core area of the Divine Pill Secret Land. Even a 9 steps void sky cultivator would die there. The second elder handed the quaint piece of paper to Zhuowen and said seriously, "The core area? There's actually such a terrifying place in the Divine Pill Secret Land. Even a 9 steps void sky cultivator would die there." Zhuowen furrowed his brows. It seemed like the Divine Pill Secret Land wasn't as simple as he had thought. The core area of the Divine Pill Secret Land is the forbidden area of the Secret Land. Even the ancestors of the Pill Tower have never entered that place. Once you enter that place by mistake, only death awaits you. However, you can stroll around the forbidden area. It's said that the life or death pill will appear near the forbidden area, the second elder said. Zhuowen's eyes lit up. He cupped his hands at the second elder and said gratefully, "All right, second elder, this time when the Divine Pill Secret Land opens, won't the people of the Pill Tower enter it?" The second elder smiled mysteriously and said, "The Pill Tower doesn't need to enter the Divine Pill Secret Land. Every time the Divine Pill Secret Land opens, the Pill Tower's pill fire can automatically swallow a large amount of divine pills from the Secret Land. The Pill Tower will also get a share of the profits." Chapter 2373. Soul Guiding Technique. Wen was surprised. He glanced at the alchemy flame that was dozing off. He didn't expect the alchemy flame to be so powerful that it could snatch divine pills from the Divine Pill Secret Realms. This was the first time he had heard of such a thing. "Shuo Xiaoyu, I hope you can keep this matter a secret for us," the second elder said to Zhuowen as he cupped his fists. "Second elder, you're too polite. Even if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't tell anyone about this." Zhuowen returned the greeting and said, "Second elder, I'll leave my clone here with you. I'll take my leave first." Zhuowen chatted with the second elder for a while before leaving the Pill Tower. Of course, before he left the Pill Tower, he gave Zhuowen a lot of calamity crystal or veins so that he could cultivate properly. Zhuowen was no longer afraid of the calamity wind, so Zhuowen didn't need to suppress it anymore. According to Zhuowen's estimation, if he was given another decade or so, his avatar should be able to successfully reach the 19th wind calamity. At that time, Zhuowen would be teleported back to the Tower of Hanner. Once he became a 3rd-level true god, he would enter the great Brahma Heavenly Palace to wait for Mu Chenxue. As long as he became a 3rd-level true god, he wouldn't be afraid of the great Brahma Heavenly Palace. At least, the great Brahma Heavenly Palace wouldn't be able to kill him. After leaving the pill tower, Zhuowen found an inn to stay in as he waited for the opening of the divine pill's secret realm the next day. The next day, at dawn, the huge square beside the pill tower was already filled with people. When Zhuowen arrived at the square, he saw Ma Yujie's fat body in front of him. "Brother Zhuo, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to see you here," Ma Yujie said. Zhuowen sneered. This guy came to find him on purpose. What a coincidence. Zhuowen replied perfunctorily, "Brother Zhuo, this time the life or death pellet will appear in the divine pellet's secret realm. Do you want to join forces with me?" Ma Yujie whispered to Zhuofeng. Zhuowen shook his head and said, "Brother Ma, you worry too much. I have no interest in the life or death pill. Moreover, with my strength, it would be too difficult for me to compete for the life or death pill. Therefore, I will not participate in this matter." Ma Yujie smiled embarrassedly and said, "Brother Zhuo is too modest. With your strength, how many people here can be your opponent? As long as the two of us join hands, the chances of getting a life or death pill are still very high." Zhuowen shrugged and said, "We'll talk about it when the time comes." Hearing this, Ma Yujie did not say anything else. Suddenly, an uproar came from the front of the square. More than a dozen people walked over from the square, and all of them were beautiful women dressed in light muslin. However, these beautiful women all had veils covering their faces, and their eyes were tightly shut. And this group of people was no stranger to everyone. It was Palace Master Jingyun's group. Yao Xiangjuan mixed in with Palace Master Jingyun's group, but she was absent-minded. She was still a little worried about Zhuowen. Not long after Palace Master Jing Yun came to the square, many forces also came one after another. However, compared to Palace Master Jing Yun, the gap between these forces was too big. There was basically no comparison. When LV Haotian slowly flew over, it caused a big stir again. After all, LV Haotian was a life enlightenment realm expert. In this place, apart from Palace Master Jingyun, there was no third person who could match his strength. Of course, when LV Haotian came, the crowd was not talking about LV Haotian himself, but about the death of Lu Shindian's group 3 days ago. LV Haotian, who was originally in high spirits, naturally had good hearing. When he came to the square, he heard a lot of gossip. He immediately became angry and killed a few people who did not open their eyes. Only then did the surrounding discussions come to an abrupt end. LV Haotian floated in the air. He looked around at the many cultivators in the square and said coldly, "Zhuowen, I know you're mixed in with these people, but don't think that I won't recognize you and let you go just because you changed your appearance. No matter where you go, Lu Shindian will not let you go, and today will be the day you die." LV Haotian had just finished his words when a transparent cylindrical bottle appeared in his hand. Inside the bottle, there was a light blue shadow. When Palace Master Jing Yun saw the light blue shadow in the bottle, her face changed slightly. She whispered, "Could this be Martial Uncle? What is this?" Yao Xiangjuan noticed Palace Master Jingyun's abnormality and quickly asked, "This is the soul drawing technique. It is a very vicious method. It is said that the soul drawing technique can collect the broken soul of a cultivator who has just died. Then, after an extremely complicated refinement, this soul will become an evil spirit, and this evil spirit will trace the soul aura of the murderer before his death and find the real culprit. However, generally, after using the soul drawing technique, the dead cultivator's soul will never enter the reincarnation cycle. This LV Haotian actually used the soul drawing technique on Ancestor Lu's broken soul. It is really too ruthless." Palace Master Jing Yun looked at LV Haotian in the sky with a complicated expression. "Brother Zhuo, you're in trouble. I advise you to run away now. Otherwise, you will have to face LV Haotian later. Ma Yujia, who was standing beside Zhuo1, reminded Zhuo1 before disappearing with a swoosh. That guy ran pretty fast. Zhuo1 frowned. It was the first time he heard of the soul drawing technique. Obviously, it was a method to find people. However, the opening of the Divine Pill's secret realm was imminent. How could he leave now? When Zhuo1 was hesitating, LV Haotian had already opened the glass bottle. Then, the light blue shadow from the bottle rushed out and hovered above the crowd. Suddenly, the light blue shadow seemed to have sensed something. It immediately chose a direction and rushed away at lightning speed. And the direction the light blue shadow rushed was exactly the direction where Zhuo1 was. Zhuo1's pupils shrank. He didn't understand how the shadow recognized him. When the light blue shadow appeared above Zhuo1's head, all the cultivators around Zhuo1 tacitly dispersed. Immediately, an empty space of several feet appeared around Zhuo1. The light blue shadow floated above his head and bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Its eyes were full of resentment. Zhuo1 coldly snorted. A terrifying divine soul crushed the light blue shadow. The light blue shadow screamed and immediately disappeared. At the same time, a terrifying murderous intent instantly locked onto Zhuo1. Zhuo1's body trembled. Little bastard, you really didn't let me down. You really came to the Divine Pill's secret realm. You won't have the chance to enter the Divine Pill's secret realm because you are going to die now. LV Haotian's voice was full of murderous intent. Then, a terrifying energy fiercely smashed on Zhuo1's chest. Chapter 2374. Mysterious life divine force from Zhuo1, destroying the light blue shadow, to Lu Haotian repelling Zhuo1. All of this happened in a flash. Before everyone could react, Zhuo1 had already vomited blood and retreated under Lu Haotian's attack, his face pale. Numerous gazes converged onto Zhuo1, causing an uproar in the surroundings. It's him? He's actually at the 7th step of the Void Sky realm. How did he manage to kill Lu Xin Hall's group with this little bit of cultivation? There were 2 peak 8th step Void Sky cultivators and 1/2 step 9th step Void Sky cultivator. How did he do it? Is there a mistake? It's impossible for a Void Sky 7th step cultivator to kill a 1/2 step Void Sky 9th step cultivator. Even if it's a peak Void Sky 8th step cultivator, it's unlikely. Didn't you see how he blocked Lu Haotian's attack? Although he vomited blood and was injured, he at least blocked it and didn't die. The cultivators around the square all consciously distanced themselves from Zhuo1 and Lu Haotian, giving them a large open space. The discussion never stopped from the moment LV Haotian made his move. Most of the people's gazes were all fixed on the seemingly ordinary Zhuo1. You've already been recognized, yet you still don't show your true face. What's the point of hiding like this? Lu Haotian had his hands behind his back. Although he was surprised that this little ant could block his attack, he didn't care. From the exchange just now, it could be seen that Zhuo1's strength was indeed extraordinary, but the gap between them was too big. If he wanted to kill Zhuo1, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Zhuo1's eyes were gloomy, and he returned to his original appearance. He looked coldly at Lu Haotian and said, "Temple Master Lu, this is the territory of the Pill Tower. Private fights are not allowed, right? Are you not putting the Pill Tower in your eyes?" Lu Haotian sneered and said, "Little bastard, you're just an ant. After killing you, I will explain to the person in charge of the Pill Tower." Not far away, Jing Yun's beautiful eyes were closed. She was facing Zhuo1 as if she was looking at him. She said in a low voice, "This kid is indeed not simple. However, he won't be able to live for long. Although this Zhuowen had the strength to kill a half-step void sky ninth ascension compared to a life enlightenment realm cultivator, a half-step void sky ninth ascension was like an ant. If LV Haotian wanted to kill Zhou Deng, he would only need half a move. On the other hand, Zhuowen wouldn't be able to kill Zhou Deng without using all of his skills. Therefore, in front of a powerhouse like Lu Haotian, Zhuowen was still like an ant. It wouldn't be difficult for LV Haotian to kill him. Martial uncle, Zhuowen is my friend. He saved my life. Martial uncle, please give me some face and save Zhuowen. Yao Xiangjuan's beautiful face was slightly pale. She hurriedly pleaded with Jing Yun. Jing Yun frowned and said, Xiangjuan, martial uncle can't help you with this matter. If LV Haotian insists on killing Zhuowen, I can't stop him. Moreover, once I stop him, I will anger LV Haotian. At that time, the Divine Pill's secret realm will suffer his revenge. This is not a good plan. Moreover, I have already promised you that I won't make a move against Zhuowen. I really didn't make a move. This is the biggest concession I can make. It's impossible for me to help this Zhuowen. Yao Xiangjuan's face was slightly pale. She bit her lower lip. She knew that Palace Master Jing Yun wouldn't make a move because of her. Asking Palace Master Jing Yun to make a move was indeed a bit excessive. Yao Xiangjuan knew her own limits. Even if she ran over to help Zhuowen, she would only be a burden. She was too weak. Do you have any last words? If not, you can go to hell. LV Haotian coldly snorted. His right hand turned into a claw, and surging divine power burst out. This terrifying divine power even contained the power of the heavenly Tao. The power of the heavenly Tao mixed with his own divine power, forming a full force of vigorous vitality. This energy was called the mysterious life divine power by cultivators. The mysterious life divine power was the symbol of stepping into the life enlightenment realm. It also represented that one had officially stepped into the void sky 9 steps. The mysterious life divine power was of a much higher level than divine power. This was the most important reason why the void sky 9 steps was superior to other void sky cultivators. After all, the mysterious life divine power and ordinary divine power were not on the same level. The death enlightenment realm above the life enlightenment realm would give birth to a second type of divine power. This type of divine power was called the mysterious death divine power. The mysterious death divine power's power was above the mysterious life divine power. Moreover, it was even more terrifying than the mysterious life divine power. And after reaching the third realm of the void sky 9 steps, the life and death extremes, the mysterious life divine power and the mysterious death divine power in the body would be combined and transformed into the life and death divine power. Just now, LV Haotian's attack did not contain the mysterious life divine power. So although Zhuowen seemed to be in a sorry state, he did not suffer any serious injuries. However, it was different now. At this moment, LV Haotian was attacking with all his might, and the mysterious life god power was mercilessly spitting out. That throbbing aura caused the hearts of Zhuowen and even the surrounding cultivators to involuntarily jump. Zhuowen's pupils shrank. This was not the first time he had experienced this throbbing emotion. Back then, when he met Mu Qin Shui at the waning moon, he had also been this scared witless. At that time, under Mu Qin Shui's attack, he had no power to resist and could only passively defend. In the end, he had to flee in panic. At that time, Mu Qin Shui should also be in the life-comprehending realm. However, at that time, Mu Qin Shui was seriously injured and could not display 100% of her strength. Now, LV Haotian was also in the same realm. Moreover, his strength was at its peak. The mysterious life divine power he displayed was much stronger than Mu Qin Shui at that time. Although Zhuowen's strength had also increased a lot during this period of time, facing a life-comprehending realm expert like LV Haotian, Zhuowen was still somewhat powerless. In addition, Zhuowen's clone was temporarily placed on the 10th floor of the Pill Pagoda. He had no confidence in being able to withstand LV Haotian's attack, unless he used the space-time ability, the Waning Sun on the Sea. However, once he used the space-time ability, he would immediately be exhausted. Even if he had the Heavenly Domain's Starry Sky essence to consume, the space-time injuries caused by the space-time ability were not so easy to heal. Just as Zhuowen's mind was filled with thoughts, LV Haotian's palm had already descended. The terrifying aura was like countless huge waves sweeping up in the vast ocean, suppressing the surrounding square, causing many of the surrounding cultivators to cough up blood and reveal fear in their eyes. The terrifying killing intent firmly locked onto Zhuowen, making it difficult for Zhuowen to dodge. He could only passively welcome the incoming terrifying palm. Looking at the palm that was getting closer and closer, Zhuowen sighed in his heart and prepared to use the Waning Sun on the Sea. Chapter 2375. The Divine Pill's Secret Realm opens rumble. Suddenly, a blazing flame rose in front of Zhuowen and turned into a thick wall of fire. The flame was extremely strong, as if it could burn everything in the world into nothingness. The moment the terrifying palm hit the wall of fire, a crackling sound rang out. Then, the wall of fire collapsed, and the palm formed by the mysterious life-divine energy also collapsed. Zhuowen was surprised, and his gaze fell on the front of the square. There, 8 figures walked out. The gray-robed old man at the front slowly withdrew his withered palm. The terrifying wall of fire just now was released by this gray-robed old man. It was also this gray-robed old man who helped Zhuowen block LV Haotian's full-force palm. Zhuowen was no stranger to this gray-robed old man. He was the Pill Tower's second elder. Although the second elder's aura was only at the half-step virtual sky 9th step, Zhuowen knew that the second elder was not as simple as he looked. The wall of fire released by the second elder easily blocked LV Haotian's palm. He knew that the second elder's strength was not weaker than LV Haotian's. Everyone in the square narrowed their eyes and looked at the second elder with a much more solemn expression. The Pill Tower's 9 great elders were not known for their powerful cultivation, but for their alchemy skills. Therefore, although the 9 great elders' cultivation was not high, their alchemy skills were unparalleled in the world. They could refine many precious divine pills. Because the 9 grand elders' alchemy skills were too famous, most cultivators neglected the fact that the 9 grand elders were actually not weak cultivators. Of course, the 9 great elders' cultivation could only be considered above average, and there was still a gap between them and the top experts. However, the second elder, who did not reveal his strength, blocked LV Haotian's attack in one move. This made many cultivators look at him in a new light. Even LV Haotian's pupils shrank. This was the first time he saw the second elder make a move, and it was so powerful. Hallmaster LV, the Divine Pill's Secret Realm is about to open. Why are you causing trouble in my Pill Tower? The second elder clasped his hands behind his back. His gaze passed through the crowd and fell on LV Haotian and Zhuowen. The second elder first glanced at Zhuowen and then stared at Lu Haotian, his eyes serious and indifferent. Lu Haotian's eyes flickered. He immediately cupped his hands at the second elder and said, "Second elder, you probably don't know. This boy is called Zhuowen. His behavior is extremely vile. Not only did he kill my son in front of everyone, but he also killed many elites of my Shrine Lu. This brat directly put his finger on my nose. This is simply intolerable. If I don't kill this brat, where will Shrine Lu's face go? I hope that second elder can give face to my shrine Lu. Before Lu Haotian could finish his words, he was interrupted by the second elder. Palace Master Lu, you don't have to say these pompous words to me. I once made a rule that private fights are not allowed around the pill tower, but you knowingly broke the law. Aren't you looking down on my pill tower too much? Do you think the pill tower is your shrine Lu's territory? The second elder said rudely. Lu Haotian was stunned. He didn't expect the second elder to be so angry. In his opinion, Zhuowen was just a nameless nobody. The second elder didn't need to be angry with his shrine Lu for such a nobody. It wasn't worth it at all. However, the second elder did so. Moreover, from his attitude, Lu Haotian could vaguely see that the second elder seemed to be protecting Zhuowen. Palace Master Lu, if there's a next time, don't blame me for canceling your quota. The second elder said coldly. Lu Haotian also realized the seriousness of the situation. He quickly cupped his hands and said, "Second elder, please calm down. This time I was foolish. There won't be a next time." Although Lu Haotian was very unhappy with the second elder's attitude, this was not his territory. He couldn't do as he pleased. If the pill tower canceled his quota, even if he didn't want to, there was nothing he could do. The second elder nodded calmly. Then he looked around and said, "Today is the day that the Divine Pill's secret realm opens. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with the Divine Pill's secret realm, so I won't go into details." After saying this, the second elder waved his sleeve. Suddenly, the burning alchemy fire above the pill tower behind him changed violently. Then it turned into a fire dragon and rushed toward the sky. In an instant, the sky changed color. The fire dragon circled the sky and dyed the whole sky red. The whole sky seemed to be surrounded by flames. It looked gorgeous and terrifying. Everyone in the square looked up at the sky. They knew that the second elder was now using the alchemy fire to open the Divine Pill's secret realm. At this moment, the other 7 elders behind the second elder were all forming hand seals and helping the second elder to open the Divine Pill's secret realm. After a while, the fire dragon disappeared into the sky. Then, a huge cauldron-shaped hole appeared in the sky. It was pitch black inside the cauldron. It was about 1,000 feet wide and could accommodate hundreds of people at once. This is the entrance to the Divine Pill's secret realm. Everyone, please enter the entrance in order. Don't break the order. Otherwise, your qualification to enter the Divine Pill's secret realm will be canceled. The second elder took a deep breath and pointed at the hole in the sky. After the second elder said this, all the cultivators in the square immediately rushed toward the cauldron in the sky. Although the cultivators rushed into the sky in a chaotic manner, they didn't forget the second elder's words. They didn't push each other. Instead, they entered the hole in the sky in an orderly manner. Little friend Zhuo, be careful of that LV Haotian. Judging from his appearance, I'm afraid he won't let you go after entering the Divine Pill's secret realm. Why don't you not enter the Divine Pill's secret realm this time, and just stay in the pill tower? If you need divine pills, the pill tower will give you a certain amount to help you cultivate. When Zhuowen was watching the other cultivators enter the entrance, a voice transmission sounded in his mind. Zhuowen wasn't unfamiliar with this voice transmission. It was from the second elder of the pill tower. Second elder, thank you for your help just now. Although your suggestion is good, I don't plan to stay in the pill tower. I'll be careful of LV Haotian. Zhuowen replied. Although the pill tower would get a lot of divine pills after the Divine Pill's secret realm closed, Zhuowen knew that most of the good divine pills would be taken by the cultivators who entered the Divine Pill's secret realm. The divine pills that the pill tower could get were of inferior quality and efficacy. Zhuowen was a person who strived for perfection. Therefore, he still planned to enter the Divine Pill's secret realm and explore it himself. Even if LV Haotian had his eyes on him, he still planned to enter the Divine Pill's secret realm. After all, the way to enter the Divine Pill's secret realm was random. Zhuo didn't think that his luck would be so bad that he would meet LV Haotian as soon as he entered the Divine Pill's secret realm. Moreover, he had the map given to him by the Second Elder. He was confident that he would gain a lot in the Divine Pill's secret realm. As for the Pill Tower, he didn't believe that the Pill Tower would give him unlimited divine pills. Chapter 2376. Extraordinary. Since that's the case, be careful. Seeing that Zhuo didn't intend to give up, the Second Elder didn't try to persuade him any further. He only told Zhuo to pay attention to Lu Haotian. During this time, Yao Xiangjuan also transmitted her voice to Zhuo. Zhuo just casually chatted with Yao Xiangjuan and found a reason to end the rumors. Lu Haotian and Palace Master Jing Yun had discussed his matter in the restaurant and even planned to cooperate. And Yao Xiangjuan was Jing Yun's martial niece. Zhuo couldn't guarantee that Yao Xiangjuan wouldn't betray him, so he didn't want to get too close to Yao Xiangjuan. Yao Xiangjuan was sensitive to Zhuo's thoughts. Although she wanted to explain to Zhuo, she could only sigh in her heart when she saw Zhuo's cold expression. She knew that the conversation between Jing Yun and Lu Haotian had already caused Zhuo's distrust. Now that Zhuo was on guard against her, it was normal for him to be wary of her. But Yao Xiangjuan's heart ached. She didn't know why she felt this kind of heartache. Xiangjuan, we should also go in. Palace Master Jing Yun reminded the dazed Yao Xiangjuan. Martial Aunt, let's wait a little longer. There are still a lot of people here. Yao Xiangjuan's beautiful eyes fell on Zhuo and said absent-mindedly. Seeing Yao Xiangjuan's expression, Jing Yun helplessly shook her head. She could only follow Yao Xiangjuan's temperament. It's almost time to go. Zhuo saw that there weren't many people in the square. He stepped on the air and flew towards the entrance. Of course, when he set off, he paid special attention to Lu Haotian, guarding against the possibility that this guy would attack him. When Zhuo flew out, Lu Haotian sneered and followed behind Zhuo. Zhuo's heart sank. His gaze fell on the Second Elder below. He saw the Second Elder frowning, but didn't say anything. Lu Haotian's behavior didn't violate the rules of the Pill Tower. The Second Elder couldn't find any fault with it. Naturally, there was no reason for Lu Haotian to stop following Zhuo. However, after flying for a while, Zhuo found that Lu Haotian didn't make a move, but just followed behind him. Zhuo was relieved, but he didn't relax his vigilance. After all, Zhuo still didn't know whether LV Haotian would suddenly make a move. He had to be wary of this guy. When Zhuo approached the entrance and was about to enter, a strong sense of danger welled up in his heart. Boom! LV Haotian, who was not far behind Zhuo, suddenly launched an attack and punched towards Zhuo's back. Yao Xiangjuan was in Palace Master Jing Yun's team. She had been paying attention to Zhuo. Seeing Lu Haotian suddenly attack, she hurriedly said, "Zhuo, watch your back." Even without Yao Xiangjuan's reminder, Zhuo also knew the danger behind him. Zhuo twisted his waist and immediately summoned the phagocytosis, which turned into 100 feet in size and blocked behind him. Bang! Unfortunately, Lu Haotian's punch completely poured out his mysterious life divine power. The phagocytosis was directly blasted away, and Lu Haotian's punch directly smashed towards Zhuo's chest. If Lu Haotian's mysterious life divine power smashed into his chest, Zhuo knew that he wouldn't be able to survive. Zhuo didn't even think about it. He bent his right hand and used the space-time ability Waning Sun over the sea without hesitation. Suddenly, A terrifying space-time ability filled Zhuowen's body and turned into a vast ocean. Behind him, a bright red waning sun rose from the sea. The waning sun gradually rose, and a terrifying power spread out. The smile on Lu Haotian's face froze, and the punch that was originally thrown out stopped in an instant. Then Lu Haotian found that the aura in his body was boiling violently. Under the influence of the space-time ability, it was about to burst out of his body and burst into a cloud of blood mist at any time. Space-time ability. Lu Haotian's eyes revealed a look of surprise, but soon calmed down. Instead, it was replaced by an even stronger killing intent. No wonder he could kill the half-step Void Sky, ninth step of their Shrine Lu this time. It turned out that he had mastered space-time ability, and it was such a powerful space-time ability. Lu Haotian knew that this kid was merely at the seventh step of the Void Sky realm, yet he had grasped the ability of space and possessed such terrifying combat strength. If this kid's cultivation was even stronger, then wouldn't it be difficult for even him to suppress this kid? Lu Haotian naturally knew that he had to eliminate the roots as soon as possible, especially after knowing that Zhuowen was so strong. It was even more impossible to leave him alive. Once he was left alive, he would be a huge disaster in the future. Lu Haotian growled, forcibly suppressing the influence of the waning sun above the sea. Lu Haotian's right foot suddenly stepped forward, and his right fist, which had been stopped by the power of the waning sun, moved again. This punch was the full strength of Lu Haotian's life, and it was also his killing blow. Bang, bang, bang. Wherever this punch passed, the space-time ability was completely out of control, and it was completely unable to leave a trace of this punch. Zhuowen gritted his teeth and pointed his finger again. The waning sun, which had risen to the highest point, began to descend, and the direction of the waning sun was in front of Zhuowen. This waning sun rose from behind and fell in front of him, containing the samsara of the waning sun's rise and fall. Zhuowen naturally paid a heavy price for forcing the waning sun to descend. His face was pale, he spat out blood, and his eyes revealed an extremely painful look. This was the huge aftereffect of making the waning sun descend. The waning sun finally fell directly in front of Zhuowen, and Lu Haotian's fist came one after another, smashing heavily into the waning sun. Boom! The terrifying aftereffect of the collision turned into violent ripples, spreading in all directions. Some of the cultivators who were close to the entrance, who had originally planned to enter the entrance, exploded into a cloud of blood mist the moment the ripples approached them. Even some powerful cultivators turned pale and spat out a mouthful of blood the moment they came into contact with the ripples. Zhuowen spat out a mouthful of blood, and then he saw the waning sun shatter. The moment the waning sun shattered, Zhuowen did not hesitate to take out the space-time wheel and enter the space-time wheel. He immediately disappeared and entered the entrance of the Divine Pill's secret realm. The moment Zhuowen entered the entrance of the Divine Pill's secret realm, the waning sun finally shattered, and Lu Haotian retreated hundreds of steps. His fist was completely charred at this moment, trembling slightly, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. What a powerful space-time ability. It actually injured me. Lu Haotian muttered to himself with a gloomy face. Many of the surrounding cultivators were staring at this scene in a daze at this moment. Everyone would never forget the beautiful moment when the waning sun rose and fell. Who would have thought that a mere void sky seventh-step cultivator would not only survive the attack of a life enlightenment state expert, but also use such a terrifying ability to escape? Chapter 2377. A strange tortoise. Lu Haotian, you're being impudent. Didn't I say earlier that my words fell on deaf ears? The second elder's face sank, and he did not hesitate to release a flame which turned into a huge flame palm and blasted towards L.V. Haotian. L.V. Haotian's eyes flickered. He didn't answer the second elder's question. Instead, he pushed off with his right foot and entered the entrance. The second elder's attack missed, but there was nothing he could do, even if he wanted to teach LV Hautyin a lesson. If LV Hautyin didn't fight with him, he couldn't do anything. Moreover, he didn't have the ability to close the entrance of the Divine Pill's secret realm. Once the Divine Pill's secret realm was opened, it would operate on its own. Until it closed, the Pill Tower wouldn't be able to do anything. The battle between LV Hautyin and Zhuowen was just a disturbance. Soon, the remaining cultivators once again entered the entrance of the Divine Pill's secret realm in an orderly manner. Yao Xiangjuan, who was deeply worried, was also brought into the Divine Pill's secret realm's entrance by Palace Master Jingyun. Puchi, below a cliff, a wretched figure fell to the ground. He spat out a mouthful of blood, staining the ground. Zhuowen's eyes were gloomy. At this moment, his injuries were extremely serious. LV Hautyin could be said to be ruthless. That punch was simply aimed at his life. If it wasn't for Zhuowen forcefully using Waning Sun at the Sea, would he still be alive? Moreover, Zhuowen had also used this divine ability in excess. Not only did he raise the sun, but he also made it descend. He had never tried this before, but its power was indeed extraordinary. But correspondingly, Zhuowen was unable to bear the heavy pressure brought about by the descent of the setting sun, causing his injuries to worsen. Now, Zhuowen's flesh wounds had basically been healed by the heavenly domain's starry sky essence, but the space-time injuries were extremely serious. It was so serious that even if he used the space-time power, he would feel unbearable pain. Sigh. This Lu Hautyin is really ruthless. Even though the second elder had spoken first, he still didn't let me go and actually killed me in the end. If I become stronger in the future, I will definitely not let this person off. Zhuowen's eyes were gloomy, and his killing intent towards LV Hautyin had reached its peak. To Zhuowen, space-time injuries were truly terrifying. He would probably need to slowly recuperate. During this process of recuperation, Zhuowen basically could not mobilize the power of space-time rules. He could only use divine power. Zhuowen sat on a rock and began to look around. He found that he was in a valley surrounded by rock walls, and he was located on the east side of the valley. This valley was overgrown with weeds and looked extremely desolate. In the middle of the valley, there was a crystal clear pool. The pond was azure in color, like a huge sapphire. It was extremely beautiful. Zhuowen took out the map given to him by the second patriarch, and when he realized that this valley wasn't a dangerous place in the Divine Pill's secret realm, he felt a lot more relieved. Normally, the opening of the Divine Pill's secret realm would last for about 3 years. Within these 3 years, one could explore the Divine Pill's secret realm as they wished, and any divine pills they found would naturally belong to them. Swoosh! Suddenly, the blue pool in the middle of the valley splashed out a lot of water, and then 2 broken corpses were thrown out of the pool, falling not far from Zhuowen. Zhuowen noticed that the 2 corpses belonged to a man and a woman. However, these 2 corpses were basically incomplete, and they looked extremely horrifying. Zhuowen's eyes slightly narrowed. He could see that these 2 corpses had died not long ago. They were probably the cultivators who came in before him, and they didn't expect to die in this pool. Moreover, from the looks of these 2 corpses, they were gnawed by some ferocious beast. It seemed that this beautiful pool wasn't as calm as it looked on the surface. Roar! Suddenly, a deafening beast roar came from the pool, and then a towering pillar of water shot up to the sky. Immediately, a black shadow rushed out of the water pillar and rushed towards Zhuowen as fast as lightning. Zhuowen snorted coldly and suddenly pulled out the king's sword from the spiritual ring and swept it out. Suddenly, a water-like sword light poured out and heavily bombarded the black shadow. Ouch! the aggressive black shadow was hit by the surging sword light, and it actually cried out in pain like a human. Then it directly smashed into the rock wall behind it, and its whole body was embedded in the rock wall. Zhuowen finally saw the true face of this black shadow. It was actually a huge tortoise. Moreover, this tortoise was completely different from ordinary tortoises. Its body was half a person's size, and the tortoise shell seemed to be made of black iron, emitting a cold and sharp aura. The head of the tortoise that extended out from the tortoise shell was also not an ordinary tortoise's head. It actually felt like a dragon's head. Moreover, although Zhuowen had sent this strange tortoise flying with his sword, his king's sword actually shook violently, as if it couldn't bear it anymore. It could be seen that this strange tortoise's shell was too hard. Ouch! Ouch! It hurts, your lord tortoise! The strange tortoise that was embedded in the rock wall kept struggling to get out of the rock wall, and rolled on the ground. Zhuowen slightly frowned. He was afraid that this strange tortoise was a trick, so he took a step forward and mercilessly kicked it with his right foot. Then the tortoise wailed and was kicked away again, and then heavily smashed into the rock wall behind it, and was embedded in the rock wall again. And this time, the tortoise was embedded even deeper. Even if its four limbs kept struggling, it still couldn't get out. I say, why are you like this? I'm telling you, you can't do anything more than 3 times. If you dare to touch Lord Tortoise again, I'll kill you. The tortoise once again dug into the rock wall and unceremoniously said ruthless words to Zhuowen. But just as the tortoise finished speaking, Zhuowen's right foot unceremoniously stepped over and directly stomped down into the small hole that the tortoise had smashed out. The tortoise was almost unable to move, and was even more embedded into the rock wall. This time, the tortoise completely lost its temper and hurriedly begged for mercy. My little ancestor, I was wrong, okay? I was really wrong. Please don't step on me. I'm scared. I'm scared. Zhuowen was speechless as he looked at this superb tortoise. This guy had no filter on his mouth. How could he be the same as Xiaohe and the Blood Immortal? Did you kill those 2 people? Zhuowen pulled out his right foot and asked as he pointed at the 2 corpses that were thrown out of the pool. The tortoise furtively looked at the 2 corpses and hurriedly said, Ouch! You've wronged me. I've never eaten people. Really, human flesh doesn't taste good. Don't talk nonsense. Zhuowen kicked the tortoise again and said indifferently, In this pool, other than you, what other ferocious beast could eat them? If you're lying, I'll kill you directly. Chapter 2378. Roasted Tortoise Zhuowen sneered. He raised the king's sword in his right hand and pulled out the tortoise that was embedded in the rock wall. Immediately after, he slashed at the tortoise again and again. When the tortoise saw that the situation was not good, it immediately shrank back into the tortoise shell and did not come out, leaving only the shell outside. Bang! 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 Zhuowen slashed out again and again, landing on the surface of the tortoise shell. Sparks constantly flew out, making for a beautiful and colorful sight. Bang! Zhuowen slashed at the tortoise shell for the last time. With a bang, the tortoise shell flew out and smashed into the ground not far away. At this moment, Zhuowen's pupils shrank. He found that there were traces of cracks on the surface of the king's sword. On the other hand, the tortoise shell was not damaged at all. Although the king's sword was not a secondary heaven-breaking divine artifact, it was not comparable to an ordinary void sky divine artifact. Its power was even more powerful. However, when he used the king's sword to slash at the tortoise shell, it was actually almost destroyed by the king's sword. This tortoise shell was too hard, wasn't it? Thinking of this, Zhuowen waved his sleeve and immediately summoned 2 divine swords. These 2 divine swords were naturally the Thunderfire sword and the Blood Immortal sword. These 2 guys had been staying in the Songlan secret realm and had been consuming Zhuowen's resources. Now they should do something. Kid, what did you call us for? Xiao Hei sat on the Thunderfire sword, and her gaze involuntarily fell on the tortoise shell not far away. This tortoise shell is very hard. Help me split it open. Zhuowen pointed at the tortoise shell and said, Hee hee, you want to split this Lord Tortoise? Lord Tortoise, let me tell you, I am the #1 mount under Di Danhua. You, a mere ant, want to split this Lord Tortoise? You are simply lying through your teeth. If this Lord Tortoise saw that you were too weak and did not want to fight, would you still be alive? A triumphant voice came from the tortoise shell. Zhuowen was speechless. This tortoise was simply a wretched bone. Its mouth was even more wretched than Xiao Hei's. It obviously could not beat him, but it insisted that it did not want to fight. Wasn't it too proud? However, Zhuowen was rather interested in the Di Danhua. Who is Di Danhua? Zhuowen asked. Hee hee, you don't even know Di Danhua. Di Danhua is... The tortoise seemed to have realized something. He quickly shut his mouth and said indifferently, You want to trick me? I'm telling you, there's no way. Get out of here before I don't want to do anything. Well, Xiao Hei was Xiao Hei's. Xiao Hei was the king as lord. As he looks, Zhao says, Blackie, this cowardly tortoise's shell is very hard. My king's sword hacked at it dozens of times and almost broke the sword. Zhuowen pointed at the cracked king's sword to Blackie. Blackie sneered and said, Kid, aren't you just a coward? What's so difficult about it? Little Blood Disciple, go get some props. Little Blood Disciple looked at Xiao Hei's eyes and quickly nodded. Then he disappeared from where he was. After a while, the Blood Celestial Sword returned with several small stone pillars. The Blood Celestial Sword was very nimble. Soon, the stone pillars were set up into a grill. Boy, I'm counting on you for the flame. Blackie laughed evilly at Zhuowen. Soon after, it rushed to the side of the tortoise. With a flick of its sword, the tortoise shell was lifted up by it. It flew into the air and landed on the grill. Zhuowen, on the other hand, summoned the Void Sky Divine Fire in his body. It burned fiercely under the grill. The lush flame looked extremely horrifying. The tortoise obviously did not know the intentions of Zhuowen and Xiao Hei. It was still hiding in its shell and laughing. But soon, it felt that something was wrong. The tortoise shell was getting hotter and hotter, and its whole body was burning as if it was in a furnace. Ouch! Who is it? Who is setting the fire outside? The tortoise shouted. Unfortunately, no one responded. It felt that something was wrong. Coupled with the rising temperature of the tortoise shell, it was almost suffocating. Master Tortoise can't take it anymore. F***CK. Finally, the tortoise poked its head out. Then, it saw a scene that it would never forget in its life. Its shell was tied up on a grill, and there was a big fire burning under the grill. Wasn't this a roasted tortoise? After a long silence, the tortoise looked up to the sky and howled like a hungry wolf. This howl was filled with grief, indignation, and the feeling of having no love left in this life. The tortoise wanted to break free. Unfortunately, there was a powerful restriction around the tortoise shell. The tortoise could not break free at all. How dare you insult me? This is equivalent to insulting the Imperial Elixir Fire. All of you will be drowned in a pig cage. The tortoise also noticed the white-robed young man standing in front of it. It could not help but roar. Zhuowen revealed an innocent expression and said, This was not my idea. It was him. As Zhuowen spoke, he pointed behind the tortoise. The tortoise turned its head in confusion. It just so happened to see two divine swords floating behind him. One of the divine swords exuded the energy of lightning and fire. There was a Xiao Hei dog sitting cross-legged on the hilt of the divine sword, looking at the tortoise mockingly. As for the sword spirit of the other divine sword, It was diligently massaging the shoulders and back of the Xiaohei dog. This scene was very strange. Yo-ho, my family's pitiful little tortoise. I'm really sorry for tying you to the grill and roasting you. However, I've never tasted a roasted tortoise before. I want to try it today, so I'll have to ask little tortoise to satisfy my craving. I'll have to bear with it and let the void sky divine fire cook it. I want to taste it. Xiaohei laughed mischievously. Seeing Xiaohei's mocking smile, the tortoise trembled. This Xiaohei dog seemed to be even more vicious than itself. The tortoise hurriedly squeezed out a smile and said, I say, big brother dog, tortoise meat is not delicious. Trust me, don't roast it. Big brother dog. Who are you calling big brother dog? Xiaohei suddenly jumped, and all the hair on its body stood on end. It looked at the tortoise with extreme hostility. Xiaohei hated being called a dog the most. It felt that this title was a kind of insult. The tortoise's expression stiffened, and it hurriedly corrected itself. My lord, I was wrong. Please let me go. Tortoise meat is really disgusting. I'm not lying to you. Xiaohei sat back down on the hilt of the sword and crossed its legs. It looked as if it was in its 70s or 80s, and it completely ignored the tortoise's pleas for mercy. Tell me about those two corpses. What's going on? Zhuowen asked. The tortoise was much more obedient now, although the flames roasted it below made it sweat profusely, and it was in so much pain that it wanted to die. It really couldn't act tough now. Yes. I was the one who killed those two corpses, and I was also the one who ate their meat. Although I swore that I wouldn't eat meat and would only eat vegetables, these two guys were like lambs in a tiger's den. I couldn't resist, so I ate them. You can't blame me for this. They were the ones who delivered themselves to me. Chapter 2379. Xingyan Basket Stonjuan nodded. The cultivation of the man and woman was not high, so it was reasonable for them to die in the hands of this tortoise. However, what surprised Zhuowen was that the turtle's shell was too hard. It was definitely the hardest turtle shell that Zhuowen had ever seen. Even the king's sword was almost broken. Zhuowen knew that this tortoise's origin was not simple. However, this tortoise's strength was a bit too weak. It was probably around void, sky 6 levels. Why did they want to go to the bottom of the pool? Zhuowen asked indifferently. The tortoise froze and then fell into silence. Zhuowen didn't pursue the matter. Instead, he silently looked at the tortoise. The void sky divine fire was still burning. This fellow wouldn't be able to endure for much longer. Sure enough, 2 hours later, the tortoise began to twist its body. It was clearly unable to endure the terrifying temperature. As long as you tell me the purpose of those two people entering the pool, I'll let you go, Zhuowen said patiently. The turtle looked at Zhuowen and hesitated for a long time. In the end, it couldn't bear the roasting of the flames and hurriedly said, It's burning me to death. I'll tell you everything. Quickly put me down. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and extinguished the fire under the grill. Then he looked at the turtle and said, Speak. The turtle sighed and said, Those two fellows came for the Nebula Basket rock mine. I don't know how those two knew that there was a Nebula Basket rock mine in the pool. You must know that this place is already considered an extremely remote place, yet it was still found by those two. Star Flare Basket rock mine. Zhuowen's eyes lit up with joy. Zhuowen had heard of the Celestial Flame Basket rock mine before. It was a supreme-grade artifact forging material. It was said that any artifact that was added into the Celestial Flame Basket rock mine would eventually transform into a secondary heaven-breaking divine artifact. It was a 1 in a million artifact forging materials in the universe. He didn't expect to find such a good item as soon as he entered the Divine Pill's secret realm. It seemed like his luck was not bad, Take me there, Zhuowen said indifferently. Then you should let me go, the tortoise hurriedly said. Zhuowen sneered. With a wave of his sleeve, he opened the restrictive spell around the tortoise. However, he didn't release the tortoise. Instead, he grabbed it with one hand. Bring me there now. I'll let you go after we find the Nebula Basket rock mine. As Zhuowen spoke, he gave a look to Xiaohe and the Blood Immortal. The two of them turned into two rays of light and circled behind Zhuowen. Zhuowen took a step forward and plunged into the depths of the azure pond, causing countless splashes. After the tortoise had been trained, it was much more well-behaved. However, its mouth was not inferior to Xiaohe's at all. Along the way, it kept talking about Master Tortoise, which gave Zhuowen a headache. As he continued to dive deeper, the pool became darker and darker. We're almost there. Suddenly, the turtle hurriedly said. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and released his powerful divine sense. Immediately, he discovered that about 100 meters ahead of him, there was a cliff that rose from the ground. This cliff stood at the bottom of the pool and looked very ordinary. It's here? Zhuowen pointed at the cliff and said, Yes, the Nebula Basket rock mine is inside this cliff. However, there is very little of it. You can go inside and look for it. The tortoise nodded and said. Zhuowen nodded and approached the cliff. Soon, he landed on the cliff. A sense of crisis immediately rose in Zhuowen's mind. Then, a huge tentacle suddenly grabbed from the depths of the cliff and instantly wrapped around Zhuowen's waist. Zhuowen's pupils shrank. The Blood Immortal sword and Thunderfire sword beside him turned into two rays of sword light and instantly cut the tentacle into countless pieces. Blood splattered everywhere. A painful roar came from the depths of the cliff. Then, more tentacles swept out and instantly blocked Zhuowen's path of retreat. This is the Nebula Basket rock mine you were talking about. Zhuowen coldly looked at the tortoise. The latter's body trembled. Zhuowen ignored the tortoise. He pulled out his Emperor sword and swung it. All the tentacles that swept over were all chopped into pieces. At the same time, Zhuowen took out the void-destroying meteor and 9 Extinction Divine rune sword. Using his powerful divine sense, he controlled the 2 secondary heaven-breaking divine tools to continuously destroy the surrounding tentacles. Roar! In the depths of the cliff, the fierce beast seemed to be enraged and suddenly rushed out. Only now did Zhuowen see the true appearance of the fierce beast. The appearance of the fierce beast is very similar to a huge octopus. However, the surface of its huge head is covered with strange barbs. The fierce beast has no eyes. However, it has a huge malevolent mouth. The huge mouth is filled with sharp fangs. It looks extremely fierce. Countless tentacles instantly sealed the surrounding space. Then they swept towards Zhuowen. Zhuowen's eyes were gloomy. He still has a space-time injury on his body. Currently, it is very difficult for him to mobilize the space-time power. It is very difficult for him to dodge these tentacles with his cultivation alone. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and took out the space-time wheel. His feet stepped on the space-time wheel. Instantly, the space-time wheel disappeared, and the surrounding space-time was distorted. Tentacles swept over, but Zhuowen was like a shadow. He constantly flashed and dodged these invading tentacles. Every time Zhuowen dodged a tentacle, the surrounding divine swords would mercilessly cut off the tentacles. In an instant, the entire cliff was flooded with blood. Zhuowen, with the help of the space-time wheel, was constantly approaching the fierce beast's head. Boom! The fierce beast opened its mouth and spat out a dark green poisonous arrow. It immediately rushed towards Zhuowen. Zhuowen coldly snorted. He took out the phagocytosis in front of him and blocked the poisonous arrow. After blocking the poisonous arrow, The space-time around Zhuowen distorted. He disappeared behind the phagocytosis and appeared on the fierce beast's head. Silencing Meteor, 9 Extinction Divine, Rune Sword, Blood Immortal Sword, Thunderfire Sword, and the King's Sword in his hand all slashed out, mercilessly leaving merciless marks on the fierce beast's head. Suddenly, Zhuowen opened a huge hole in the fierce beast's head. Then he drilled into the hole. The 5 weapons beside him were like drills, constantly drilling the bloody hole deeper and bigger. The fierce beast kept roaring, but it was useless. Zhuowen was like a madman. He kept going into the fierce beast's body through the bloody hole. Whoosh! Zhuowen suddenly drilled out from the other side of the fierce beast's head. He actually directly penetrated the fierce beast's head. Roar! The fierce beast looked up to the sky and roared. Then its body twitched and it completely lost its breath. The cliff was already filled with blood. The smell of blood was extremely pungent. Zhuowen threw the tortoise on the ground. His eyes were slightly red. He coldly said, "It seems that you also want to die. You actually tricked me?" The tortoise looked at the fierce beast being dealt with just like that. It was shocked. However, after feeling the killing intent in Zhuowen's eyes, it quickly said, "You misunderstood. I didn't lie to you about the Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mine. It's in this cliff. I'll take you there." As it spoke, the tortoise pointed to the depths of the cliff. "I'll believe you one more time. If there's any falsehood, I'll turn you into a real roasted tortoise." Zhuowen coldly said, and drilled into the depths of the cliff. The depths of the cliff were filled with the fierce beast's blood. The blood of the fierce beast was extremely pungent. Zhuowen simply shut off his sense of smell. Chapter 2380. Origin Recovery Pill. There was no seawater in the deepest part of the cliff, and the environment was similar to an empty plain. However, the air here had a salty smell. Zhuowen looked around and shockingly discovered that the surrounding rock walls were embedded with irregular pieces of ores that were shining with a dark blue light. Zhuowen was not unfamiliar with these ores. Wasn't this the Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mine that he was looking for? Moreover, the surrounding rock walls were not small, and the Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mine reserves were so abundant that even Zhuowen was a little dumbfounded. One had to know that the Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mine was a refining material that many cultivators dreamed of in the outside world. Not just anyone could possess a substandard, heaven-breaking divine artifact. Unless one was very wealthy or a high-ranking member of a large force, it was impossible for ordinary cultivators to obtain a substandard, heaven-breaking divine artifact. There were many void, Heaven 8 Steps experts in the galaxy, but they did not have a single substandard, heaven-breaking divine artifact. There were very few people like Zhuowen who had 3 substandard, heaven-breaking divine artifacts at once. Moreover, Zhuowen did not obtain them casually. He had risked his life to obtain them. However, the Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mine could allow a void, heaven-breaking divine artifact to become a substandard, heaven-breaking divine artifact with a 100% success rate. Its value could be imagined. It could be said that this amount of Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mine was definitely a huge fortune to Zhuowen. Its value was comparable to the Heavenly Domain's Starry Sky essence that Zhuowen obtained in the Great Brahma Domain's training grounds. After all, the Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mine reserves here were simply too abundant. Xiao Hei's eyes widened as she muttered to herself, "Kid, you're rich." The value of these Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mines is definitely beyond our imagination. Zhuowen nodded and said, "Help me excavate these Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mines." After saying that, he turned into a gust of wind and began to excavate the Cosmic Flare Basket Rock Mines on the rock walls in a frenzy. Xiao He cursed in a low voice and unhappily followed behind with the blood immortal sword to excavate the cosmic flare basket rock mines on the other rock walls. As for the tortoise, it had already been thrown aside by Zhuowen. It kept struggling with its back facing the sky, but it just couldn't get up. Of course, this tortoise had become like this because Zhuowen had placed a restriction on it. No matter how much it struggled, it would not be able to get up. Don't be in such a hurry to snatch it. Help me get it down first. The turtle hurriedly said. Unfortunately, Zhuowen and Blackie ignored the tortoise's words. They didn't care at all. Not long after, Zhuowen, Xiao He, and the others had stripped all of the cosmic flare baskets in the mine. Zhuowen was in a good mood. Soon after, he arrived in front of the tortoise, picked it up, and asked, "What is your identity?" The tortoise's eyes flickered, and its forelimbs kept struggling. It snorted coldly and said, "If I tell you my identity, you'll be scared to death. However, my identity can't be revealed casually. You've already taken the thing, so you can leave now." Zhuowen smiled, not minding the tortoise's stubbornness. He said, "Then who is the Imperial Pill Fire that you mentioned just now?" The tortoise's eyes changed, and it said coldly, "Did I say that? You might have misheard the name." Zhuowen's eyes turned cold, and he said, "You don't want to say it? Do you still want to experience the taste of a roasted tortoise?" The tortoise turned its head and ignored Zhuowen. Zhuowen frowned slightly. This tortoise seemed to have different feelings for the Imperial Pill Fire. Although this was the first time he had heard of the Imperial Pill Fire, he felt that the Imperial Pill Fire mentioned by this tortoise should be an extraordinary figure. However, this tortoise was very stubborn. He was afraid that even if Zhuowen used the same trick again, he might not be able to make this tortoise open its mouth. Thinking of this, Zhuowen decided to take this tortoise with him. Perhaps it would be of help to him in the Divine Pill's secret realm. "What are you doing? What are you doing?" When Zhuowen stuffed the tortoise into his spirit ring, the tortoise kept struggling. Zhuowen didn't care about it, and he directly stuffed it into his spirit ring. This tortoise's shell was definitely the hardest thing that Zhuowen had ever seen. Even the phagocytosis in his hand might not be as hard as this tortoise's shell. Perhaps at a critical moment, it could help him block some danger. Of course, this was just a random reason that Zhuowen came up with. He mainly felt that this tortoise was unusual, and he shouldn't miss any opportunity. Putting away the tortoise, Zhuowen left the pool. After leaving the pool, Zhuowen followed the exit of the valley and left the secluded valley. At the same time, he secretly used his divine consciousness to scan the guide map that the second elder had given him. Although this guide map only marked the dangerous areas in the Divine Pill secret realm, Zhuowen could roughly estimate the distribution of the divine pills by analyzing the distribution of these dangerous areas. Although there might be many mistakes, it was enough to figure out the general distribution of the divine pills. This was a desert, and it was full of desert. At a corner of the desert, there was a dilapidated building. At this moment, there were nearly 100 cultivators fighting inside the building. Before Zhuowen arrived at this building, he faintly smelled a rich medicinal fragrance. He knew that there must be divine pills in this building. When Zhuowen arrived near the building, he discovered that there was a stone statue erected in the middle of the building that was about 10 feet tall. This stone statue looked ferocious, and its face was ferocious. Its mouth was wide open, and divine pills were spat out from this stone statue's mouth. Every time a divine pill was spat out, it would cause a commotion among the cultivators. At the same time, many cultivators died. Level 5 divine pill, origin restoration pill. Zhuowen looked at the divine pill spat out by the stone statue and recognized it at a glance. It was a level 5 divine pill, origin restoration pill. Zhuowen was not interested. Level 5 divine pills were too unattractive to him. This thing was better than nothing, so he naturally didn't plan to fight for it. Moreover, the cultivation of most of these cultivators was not high. Among them, the highest cultivation was only around the Void Sky 5th stage. As long as Zhuowen wanted to, he could kill these cultivators with a single palm strike. Bang, bang, bang. Continuous sounds of fighting rang out. This group of cultivators was obviously in a killing frenzy. In order to fight for the newly produced level 5 divine pills, they simply used all their means and didn't care about the consequences. There were even some cultivators who were seriously injured. Not only did they not escape, but they also fought even more fiercely. This was no different from suicide, and Zhuowen couldn't understand it. Originally, Zhuowen didn't plan to pay attention to it. However, when he saw the abnormalities of these cultivators, he felt strange. It was only a level 5 divine pill. Was there a need for these cultivators to fight so desperately? Let's go in and take a look. After hesitating for a moment, Zhuowen stepped with his right foot and entered the building. Moreover, he unreservedly released the aura of the Void Sky 7th stage to intimidate these cultivators. Whoosh, whoosh.